Welcome back to Against the Grain. I'm your host, Anthony, joined as always behind the cameras by Sarah. Hello. Thanks, Sarah. And today it is my absolute honor to have Andrew Condoleon on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, brother.
Did I
it's
say
a pleasure to
your
be
surname?
here. Yeah.
Okay,
Some people
so-
say Condoleon, but yeah, Condoleon is fine. That's the Aussie way to say it.
Oh, no. How do you actually say is it
Condoleon.
Condoleon.
Yeah, Condoleon.
Condoleon. Andrew
You got it
Condoleon.
right. You got it right.
I was like, is that what I
All
said?
good, brother.
But thank you so much for coming on, man.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Just to let everyone listening know, I was at the Be Not Afraid conference, and to be very honest, it was a really I had woken up early. I didn't get much sleep. It was a really tiresome but wholesome day. I don't want to take away from it. It was just me. I was really tired and things. And you were, I think, the last talk. Were you
Yes, I was.
You were the last talk, and it was the perfect way to end for me personally because it was like a really brief testimony.
Yes.
It struck me so profoundly, and it was at a time where I felt like I was out for the day. That this was it. I was like, I'm ready to go, and then that kind of I don't know, it re-energized me. Your talk, and I thought that it's so beautiful, and I was like, I need to get Andrew on the podcast and hear this story, more in detail. So I appreciate you coming, man.
I'm humbled. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. And then before we get into your story as well, we finally met. So I tried to to have a chat with you at the men's conference, and there's just so many people. So you get stuck talking to people. Every time I was slowly making my way from one side of the room to the other to come and talk to you, and every 3 steps I was talking to someone else. We'd just get caught in conversation. I was telling you on Saturday, I finally got to your table.
Yes.
And I was waiting for you to just finish the conversation you were having. And then Father Louis Barakat comes up, and then we got stuck in conversation, and then you'd left, and I was like, oh, I've missed out completely.
Yes.
But we finally got to meet on Saturday at the St. Michael's Troops, which was awesome.
Awesome.
And I don't know, maybe we'll get into this a bit more throughout the podcast, but I really enjoyed just that really brief chat we had before we started the training. So it was Mass at St. Charles for anyone who doesn't know, at 7:30. Then we had a training session at the boxing gym down the road from St. Charles. And just before we walked in, basically, we just had a quick chat. And I was letting you know, this is not my thing. The gym training. Yeah.
I was I feel sorry for this guy.
It's not, like I said to you, I love playing sports and things, but the gym sort of training things, it's not my thing. And, but we spoke about it being a holistic, taking a holistic approach to
holiness.
To holiness.
Yeah.
And so that physical aspect is something that at least more recently, extremely recently, I was I need to actually do this. This is a discipline that I need to get right so that I can get other disciplines in my life right. And you do that already so well.
Well, trying, but yes.
But like I said, I'm sure that's where I finally got to meet you in person, is at the St. Michael's Troops. But sorry, I'll stop talking now. I just want people to kind of know how this kind of came about. And I might just, sorry to leave it so broad, but I might just throw it to you to kind of introduce yourself and maybe kickstart kind of your story from the beginning, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries. Well, so where I'm at, I guess the way that I've kind of made sense of it, my story, and I'm even, still trying to figure it out in a way, because I call it this fruit salad story, and you got a bit of a glimpse of it, and the boys at the Be Not Afraid conference. But I guess we can zoom in. The way I make sense of it is kind of throwing it on a timeline. So going back to 1980s, right? So you weren't born yet.
No.
But 1980s. So my story, the way I make sense of it, starts with my mum. So she's Filipino. and she was in the Philippines and landed in Manila at some point, which is the capital of the Philippines. And she was, pretty young and, adventurous, like coming, and she met a Korean fella, a Korean guy, and they became boyfriend and girlfriend. And then, they became a boyfriend and girlfriend. And then my Greek Australian father, and I did say Greek, yes, no, don't look it, but it kind of explains the Condoleon. My surname is actually Kytherian. So any Greek people watching, specifically Kythera is an island in Greece.
Ah, okay.
So there's a story out that way, and there's a story, all over the place. But we'll get there. So yeah, anyway, so my Greek Australian father, he flew to the Philippines at that time. He landed in Manila. I think it was to do with work or something like that. And somehow my mum and him meet, right? So then this love triangle began. Yeah.
Wow.
Dramatic. So this love triangle began, but my Greek father had the golden ticket, I call it. So it's the golden ticket to come to Australia. So back then, I think Bob Hawke, if anyone remembers, he was the Prime Minister, I think, at that time. And he was, the immigration laws were pretty lax. And so anyway, he offered my mum the golden ticket, and she said yes. So, long story short, she leaves like everything that she knew, and she flies over to Australia with my dad, leaving, at the same time, the story is that as we were flying over, I'm being knitted in her womb, as they flew over the Pacific Ocean back into Australia, right? So all of this without my Korean, you can tell now, if like I'm pretty Korean looking, Korean biological father knowing that I exist even to this day. So I've never met him. He doesn't know I exist. And my Greek Australian father, God rest his soul, he passed away last year. But believing actually that I was his biological son till he passed away. And I actually found that pretty amazing. But my other brothers from the Greek side of the family actually said that, because I was going to tell him the truth. I said, because I found out the truth when I was 26 and I'm 42 now. Are you able to follow this line? I'm thinking it's kind of okay.
I can, just a side note, I can see many listeners freaking out that you just said 42 because you look younger than me.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. The gift of the Holy Spirit and being Asian. A lot of kimchi.
It must be.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
no, that's okay.
I'm following your timeline.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's like sometimes I get confused myself, but okay. So Greek Australian father, with my Filipino mum in Australia now, right? And so so that's part of the story. And then they land. I'm born in 1983 in Narrabri. So I don't know if you know Narrabri. It's a small country town in New South Wales. So really kind of country. And then I was born, right? Little Asian blob popped out. And there's awesome pictures of me. Like I love reminiscing on the old school photos, right? And it's me, with a Kingswood a Holden Kingswood, one of the classic cars, and my mum's holding me in like a flooded area there. And just smiling, like everyone was just so happy to be in this flood zone. But anyway,
that's awesome.
But I was born there, but then we didn't stay there for long because Dad's role was to revive RSL clubs around New South Wales. So if they were failing financially, he'd be like special forces. He'd go in and try to revive it. That's awesome. My understanding of what he was doing. But that what that meant from the family life, we were like moving around a lot. So we moved from Narrabri to Bundeena. I don't know if that's down south.
Yes. Yep.
And then, but unfortunately, my mum and him, they weren't. The marriage wasn't going well, and then they separated when I was about 3 or 4 from memory. And then I ended up with in shared custody between mum and dad for a period then, and then ended up with my grandparents at one point. So my grandparents raised me because they were busy kind of living their own lives. But my beloved grandparents still raised me for a good block of that. But then after that, I ended up with dad, and he was living in Chester Hill, a single dad at that time, for most of the time. And then mum was actually in Coogee Beach. So it was from Chester Hill to Coogee Beach
Oh, wow.
every second week. So this shared custody thing. And my mum was like, she's an entrepreneur, right? So she started a cafe in Coogee Beach, right? I don't know if you know where the Macca's is there on that main road where the bus stop is at Coogee Beach. Anyway.
Sorry, I'm not cultured.
You don't like Macca's, maybe?
Love Macca's. It's the Coogee side. I don't know too well.
It's the one near Bondi, right?
Yeah, it's
You know
between
near
like
Tamarama?
Bronte. Yeah, so
You can see Coogee up after
Oh, okay,
Tamarama.
that's cool.
yeah, so yeah, so then anyway, she started a cafe business there.
Beautiful.
So she was running that and doing really well as a single mum and thriving. So financially, we were doing pretty well there. The dad, it was a bit more of a struggle. So anyway, I was with dad, and then with dad most of the time at this stage. So probably around 5 or 6, I think. And then he was he took me to, this is where the sport aspect comes in, tennis. So dad, he took me to this tennis camp with no real intention of getting me into tennis. Like I'm a 5-year-old kid, just to kind of keep me busy or occupied. And then if you could visualize like a tennis court, right? And so the half court at each intersecting point, the coach or whatever would put the buckets at each corner. And we had these oversized tennis balls, and then we'll instruct it to throw them into the buckets, right? And so you can imagine, if you know a 5-year-old or if you've had a 5-year-old, most of the balls were going everywhere,
Yeah.
except for the buckets. but apparently mine, I was just like a surgeon, boop, 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 getting them in, just very focused on that task. So there was somewhat of a tennis selector that had one of her kids there. And then she went up to my dad and said, "Oh, is this your kid?" And then he goes, "Yeah, that's my kid." And she goes, "You got to get him into tennis." And then from that moment, it was like the beginning of the end, I call it, because everything became about tennis. So think about single wog dad living vicariously through, me.
Yeah.
Got me into tennis, and basically I started winning. They got me into training. This is all in primary school, kind of early primary school too. Got me into training before and after school. So it was all tennis. And he was my Greek dad was a bit of an introvert. So he didn't really, there's not much socializing outside of that.
Yeah.
So that's all I remember. And then, going to the theme of Be Not Afraid in terms of Robert Falzon's theme of wounds, from father wounds particularly. I think, I won't say it's a wound, but I think more reflecting on it, it's the way that my Greek dad showed love wasn't in like, "I love you, son, you're doing great," or hugs or any physical touch or anything like that. It was just paying for, the tennis lessons, and it wasn't a terrible fight. Very strict, very kind of strict. But I think my way of feeling his love was like by winning comps. So that's the association. If I won and I did well, then dad would love me more. He was a bit nicer to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that kind of builds into kind of my identity, I guess, structure at that age, and that I need to be a people pleaser to in order to feel loved. I don't know. So from there, got into tennis, and then got, like I was saying, winning a lot of comps. Started to represent New South Wales at an early age, and I think I scraped into like the top 10 nationally at a pretty young age.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and then I was on this kind of early pathway to Wimbledon Juniors. So there was this goal of like, okay, Wimbledon Juniors could be a real thing.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm about 11 or 12 now. So playing for quite a few years, I guess, from the age of 5 or 6 when that happened. And then that all changed because my mum, she was planning to remarry a wealthy politician up in the Northern Territory. So Northern Territory, I don't know if it's the structure with the politics there. It's like they call the premier here, but they'll call the premier version of that chief minister. And he was the chief minister's senior advisor. So pretty up there, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, point is that my mum asked my dad if she can borrow me for a week to be ring bearer at this wedding, and my dad said, "Yeah, heck no," because they hated each other essentially.
Okay.
But then my grandmother, right? So she has a soft spot for my Greek father because it's true, like the fact that they wouldn't have been in Australia if it wasn't for him. So she's grateful for that. And they had a soft spot for each other, and he basically relented and said, "Yeah, you can have him for a week. You can have him for a week, but that's it," because the training was ramping up for the tennis, and yeah, so that ended up flying over there, and for me as a kid, it was the best because it was like I could be a kid, I could be. There was no schedules, strict training programs. And I remember I had a crazy tennis coach who just obsessed with Andre Agassi, but like he had me on this nutrition diet of like lamb's brains and Brussels sprouts. I'm just traumatized. Yeah. But you can see, the boiled lamb's brains. Have you ever seen one?
I have not.
Oh gosh.
And I
But like I
don't
was just
want
like, and I was like, are you serious? Like I gotta eat this to perform better. But yeah, that's just one.
As a kid.
As a kid, yeah. So I was just free from all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was good. And then anyway, and the apartment the apartment that my stepfather owned was like a luxury apartment. So it was just like, wow, they had a pool, had its own waterfall, meeting new friends. So I could just be a kid.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was with mum. Like, which boy doesn't want to be with mum, as well. So it was the best week of my life. And then, yeah, the wedding happened and it was fun. Like I was the ring bearer, but then everything changed when, so I was in the pool. I remember exactly. I was in the pool in Darwin, and then my mum and stepdad approached me, and they had a bit of a serious look on my face, and I was like, their face, sorry. And then I was like, okay. They're like, well, Andrew, we want you to stay with us from now on here in Darwin, right? And like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, what is a 12-year-old boy to say? It's like, well, on one hand, there's a sort of dad straight away. I feared him. He was strict. And also there was tennis. Like I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at it. I want to see where I can go. Can I do that from here? Don't know. And then on the other hand, I'm just in this luxury apartment. I've got new friends. I'm socializing for the first time properly. And, which, like I said before, which boy doesn't want to be with his mum, And my mum was like, she's just carefree. It's like you do whatever you want. So there was no real discipline there. And so I did nothing. I couldn't respond because I was just so fearful. I was just stuck.
Yeah.
And so they made a decision for me in a way. They were saying like, oh, we'll sort out everything. You just live your life. You don't have to worry about or stress about the custody battle that was going to begin. So we're going to begin this whole legal process. From a 12-year-old, I didn't know what that meant really. Yeah. But then, so they entered me into school there. I didn't speak to dad at all. It was limited, and I was also being told all these negative things about him and stuff like that. So, but anyway, when I got into the primary school system in Darwin, and then I also thrived there in tennis as well. I was still playing tennis, but not on the strict kind of schedule way, but just on a social level. And got into school. But basically, after around about a year later, I could tell my stepdad was kind of getting over it. Because I'm looking back retrospectively, it would have cost a lot of money to fight for me in the courts. And he was clearly visibly, and that their marriage wasn't going so well. And I guess one day, and I shared this at the Be Not Afraid. I was 12 years old, and I remember being in the apartment, and I was just sitting at a table, and then my stepdad came in on his own, and he's carrying a sheet of paper, and he had a rosary, I noticed, in his hand. And what made it strange for me was that he was, he was an atheist. Like he didn't come to church with us or mass. And my mum was still practicing. We were very kind of fair weather Catholic, practicing the faith. But he wouldn't ever want to come. And he was just, to me, it was just I could see him as an atheist, didn't really believe in God or anything. He was carrying a rosary, but he came in and then said to me, and he was a little bit tipsy as well, which was becoming more common in the culture of the family life there as well. And so he had this sheet of paper. He said to me that you're gonna read this out, and when you're gonna call your dad, I'm gonna call your dad, and you're gonna read this out to him over the phone. So I was just like, okay. But I didn't say okay. I was just, again, it's just that reaction was just like, I felt frozen. That they say it's like fight, flight, or freeze. That was me. I was just frozen again and mute and just submissive. And then, anyway, he started dialing the phone, put it up, gave it to me. I just grabbed it. And then, I could hear Dad on the other side. Kind of, I knew he was there, but he was very silent. That's the first time. Think about in a year and a bit that I've had contact with him. And then I'm just reading out this thing like a little robot, And then I just keep reading, and then I got to a point of this script where it said, this is where I had to pause, because I was just like, it didn't feel right to say it. And I was just like paused. And in that moment, I was like, I had this decision point where I could not say it. And then I kind of looked up at this, my stepdad was like 6'4", quite a tall man. And I was just like, sandwiched between two father figures, and it's just like, what do I do? I'm so fearful of both. And the physicality of him, and, the directness and the politician kind of, aura as well. I was just like, okay. And then what it said on the script was, Dad, I didn't like it when you used to hit me. And so the reason why I paused is because, like, he was strict, he was, tough, but he never laid a finger on me, And that was a huge lie. So, but then I just proceeded to read it. And that's when I said as well at the Be Not Afraid, it was like, well, this is where the first set of thorns were born in me. Or you can call it limiting beliefs, however you want to say it. The I am phrases, which, I believe are so potentially powerful that, they say that I am are the two most powerful words in the dictionary. And I agree, because they have the power to build, and they have the power to destroy. And in that moment, I was like, well, I'm a liar because I read this out, I'm not good enough. And I'm a coward, I couldn't stand up for myself. And so there were the first thorns. And I read that out, put the phone down. And, after that, it was just like, I just went blank. I think a lot of my childhood, I kind of blanked out in my adult years. And I didn't see my Greek father for 17 years or so after that moment. Yeah. And so after that, my stepfather congratulated me on a job well done, in a way. And then I actually only recently I discovered that I found out from my mum that I was like, crying. Like after that, like I actually forgot this memory. And then I was actually in the room crying when she came home, and I didn't tell her anything. What had happened. So so that was the 12-year-old kind of trauma point, which I can now talk about by the grace of God, in terms of starting the pathway to healing, and to reach out to anyone potentially in your audience that has had an experience like that, in principle. So. So that was that moment. And then what happened next? So then my mum and my stepfather, they actually separated, and then we ended up moving back into Sydney. So I started living with mum, and life was good with mum, like living in Coogee. I went to I picked up being a skatey, like skateboarding, and becoming like an Asian waxhead, essentially. I had some really cool friends that would, in Coogee, what do? You surf or bodyboard in summer, and then you skateboard in winter. And that was a awesome outlet for me, because I could just get out and skate and be creative. Skateboarding is a very creative sport, I believe. You got to find terrain to to kind of skate over, and create places to just have fun. You could just find one section and be there with like 30 cents in your pocket with the boys and just skate for hours. I think that's a wonderful fond memory I have with some of my friends back then. Oh, we were good kids. Nothing, we would probably just get chased by university. What is it? It was at UNSW. The university.
Yep.
I don't know if but in the car park there was like one of the best places to skate. But what came with the thrill of running away from security guards. So it's like we'd sneak in there, and then like we know there's a time limit, and then the security guards would chase us down, and that just added to the thrill of the experience.
Wow.
Anyway, so there were fun times in my childhood, and then got into a pretty good Amara school, which was Masterland College in Randwick. It was a good school. Yeah, it was a good school. But I did experience bullying in year 7. So in year 7, there was, so basically I was in year 7, back then, I don't know if they're wearing like a massive, the school bags, we have to bring every single textbook. I don't know if you lived in an era of that. We don't have like iPads or something, where everything's condensed. But I was just in the tuck shop line. Do you know what that is? The canteen?
Yeah. We're not that young,
Yeah.
We still know the traditional schooling and things like that. Yeah. We were a part of it.
Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, I hope you don't mind.
Go.
I'm just going to write some notes so I don't forget some of the things that I want to ask you. But please keep going.
Please do go for it.
Thank you.
So I was in the tuck shop line with my big bag, and I'm just looking at what to have for lunch. Like the big questions in life, right? Like, should I have a meat pie on a roll with sauce today, or should I have a sausage roll? So they were the big life questions. Yeah. But then then suddenly I noticed, I felt this pain in the back, my lower back, a sharp pain, and some pressure. And then I turn around and I see this. It's a year 12 boy. And I see in his hand, he's got a compass. So, those things that is that what you call it, a compass? So you draw that perfect circle. Yeah. And it's got that little point he'd stabbed me in the back with that a few times. And then, it was just dawning on me, because I was just like, he was walking away, and then he spat on the ground in front of me and called me an effing gook. So, like a derogatory term for being Asian. So I was just like, I knew he was a year 12 kid or boy, but then he just walked off. I was just simply just standing there going, what the heck just happened? Then just having this fear again. It's that fight, flight, or freeze, right? I froze, and then I was like, oh, should I dob on him, or he might come again? So there's this fear. So I just nursed the pain on my own. It was almost like a massive, wound, but in terms of like, it still penetrated the skin. So it's enough to, but then, at the same time, I just didn't tell anyone about it until, I guess, more recently. Because I didn't want to worry my grandparents or my mum as well, like by telling them that this is what happened at school, because there were worry warts on their own already in their life. So I was just like, okay, and then I think I reflected on it. I was like, well, I think that fed my later like decision to join a gang with an Asian gang. I got to stick with my Asian boys, so that racial thing was starting to play. I had some awesome Aussie friends, like I said, because I was skateboarding with them and surfing with them. And then that fed into, anyway, so I just got on with life at school, and it was pretty good. Had some good teachers, ups and downs, but generally pretty good experience until year 12, year 11 or 12. So by now I've got a new stepfather. So my mum's had another union with another man. Who was a lawyer, and we did not get along at all. I was by then a pretty poor stepson, because I look at it, I was like, my view of a father was diminished. Like I was like, there's no such thing as a good father in my mind, because from my experience that I've shared. And on a spiritual level, it's like there was no even thought of a loving, invisible God the Father at the time, because the model of the fathers that I experienced was poor. But yeah, so I wasn't the best stepson, and he was pretty arrogant. I fell in love with him later on, but he was arrogant at like just know-it-all like lawyer, and I was a know-it-all wannabe, gangster, whatever. And then
So at this point, you're part of the gang.
Oh, sorry. No, so at this point, we'll retract a bit. So it's like,
Sorry.
I think in year 10, that's when he came into our lives.
Okay.
I think around about then. And then year 11, I think year 11 or 12, we had like a little punch on at home, unfortunately. And it was on my little brother's birthday, So that was heartbreaking because it was his birthday, and we had this little altercation in front of everyone. It was very dramatic, But my heart broke for my little brothers because it's just the innocent boys to see all that. And I think that triggered me because I was like, I can't be in this house because I'm going to bring more of this negativity to my little brothers. They were innocent, because they're innocent kind of bystanders to this fury that we're having. So I ran away from home. And then, the gang life thing kind of started to become provocative because it was that Tupac and Biggie era. I don't know if the rap game, and it was very, very provocative for me, and very influential on the culture here in Sydney, I think. That whole West Side, East Side thing, and, I aligned with a lot of the anger in the music, and I started to adopt it, that anger in my life and the values that that they kind of portrayed. And then the Asian gang culture was starting to come in to Australia and becoming like, it was kind of unvetted at the time. So guys were recruiting for different gangs outside school, in the city. George Street was the kind of hangout, where Asian gangs would hang out. It was pretty petty at the time. It was very much like, trying to model the movies and stuff. But there was a more serious aspect to it in the organized crime aspect behind all of that surface level stuff and recruiting. But for me, I think it was just like, well, I didn't have a family at home. And even though my mum and my grandmother loved me unconditionally, but I did look at the head of the home, which is the father. And I was like, well, he's the boss. I don't belong there. So I'm going to look outside of that. And there was one friend that invited me in. There was also girls involved. I'm at that age. It's, just trying to be validated and some place to belong. And then there's this gang was recruiting. And then I just said, yeah, all right, let's join. Don't have any deep reason. But I think the deeper reason was acceptance and belonging. Like that's a human need. And then I'd look for like father figure there. In the gang leader, and followed him. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna jump in.
Yes.
Yeah, before we go into that. Sort of that time period in your life, there are just a few things that I want to touch on, if that's all right.
Of course. Yeah.
The first thing is just really simple. It's a bit of a random question, but I just thought of it when you were talking about the strict tennis regime and things like that, and routine that you had and all that stuff.
Yes.
Really random. I'm so sorry.
No.
But just out of curiosity, like as you were talking, I'm thinking, like Nick Kyrgios.
Mm-hmm.
So like you look at someone like him, and it's easy for someone like me who's never gone through that sort of like rigorous sort of routine and things like that, to like criticize someone like him and the way he acts and things like that. But he's said some things that that what you said kind of reminded me of.
Okay.
And so just that, I don't know, it's just I'm so sorry for this random question, but like, do you see someone like that? I don't know how much you like follow his chaos. But do you see someone like that and kind of almost feel sorry for them because you're like, I kind of know what you mean, like what you're going through and things like that, as opposed to someone like me who sees it and thinks this guy's just off his chops sort of thing.
Yeah. Look, I look at it like like compassion in a way, because empathy, maybe that's the word that comes up, is entertaining as heck. He's the most entertaining like tennis player.
He is,
I know, right? And but I hear that he's also one of the like a gentleman behind the scenes as well. But on the court, he just turns into this beast, and I do resonate with that because in my tennis journey, I was a massive sook on the court. Like I'd be like, that one that's breaking rackets and probably scaring my opponent to win. I don't know, like just an angry, like that little gremlin, of all that stuff would come out on the court.
Yeah,
but it'd make me play well, So yeah, all of that, like that's also I see, and I resonate with Andre Agassi's biography. If you haven't read it, it's a good one in general for any people that like sport. But yeah, it's a very lonely sport in terms of, I think, it dawned on me that the only time if you think about it in tennis, like when's there's footy, physical touch between the footies, you're constantly in grappling and close range with the other opponent or teammates or whatever. Yeah. But in tennis, when's the actual time your distance? Like you got a racket and you're hitting a ball from a distance. And the only time for physical touch potentially is if you choose to, if you're not sooking enough to shake their hand at the end, and have that kind of release. So it is, it can be very isolating without a good coach. I think without a good team, and I think that's why, like, if you notice the tennis players, they look to their box and they start talking and telling them off, but like it's that at least there's some kind of connection to something outside of themselves. Yeah. And I think even with Dimonor and Nick Kyrgios and all that, they, when they're playing the Davis Cup or something, it's more of a team. It's more nourishing from comments that I've heard from them. Yeah. But yeah, with Nick, it's like I do have some kind of empathy towards those that are at that level, because I stopped really that kind of, it wasn't that long for me, so I was 12 or 13 when that intense schedule stopped, so I didn't kind of develop any more than that. But yeah, there's a great discipline that's learned from that process as well, which I think saved me later on. But yeah, that random question, I hope I answered it.
No, you did. Thank you for that. Yeah. I thought about it because there's something that I've been noticing recently as well is that I can really like easily disregard like why someone is the way that they are. And then it becomes like really judgmental and almost like, it's almost like inhuman. Is that a word? Inhumane? I don't know. Like of me to I don't know. It just, I don't know why. I can't remember what it was that I was watching or something like that. And I felt sorry for like this person that typically I wouldn't feel sorry for because I'd learned their backstory. I don't remember what it was. But then it kind of just dawned on me that I do that quite a bit. And so I just thought that might be an interesting thing, like to see if, because you went through, I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, it stopped at 12 or 13, but you still went through, kind of that, that tough routine and things like that. And Nick Kyrgios has spent a bit of time talking about that. I don't know how it popped in my head, but I just thought, like that might be something interesting to see. if you can resonate with like their upbringing and to see why they are the way that they are. And I'm trying to be better at that. So
but I think you hit it on the head in terms of like, is it St. Francis, like seek first to understand, then to be understood. Like it's that, like, because his your backstory a bit more. It's easier not to judge, I guess. But it's so easy to judge. Like I'm not. Christ forbid us to judge, right? But it's hard, But it's worth pursuing.
For sure. I think we can all just work on being a bit more compassionate. Definitely me. So that's one thing I'm
Me
working
too.
on. But anyway, sorry, that's the reason for the random question.
Yeah, that's all right.
The other thing is, again, I was just curious, that call that you made, you know, where you had to read the script.
Yep,
Firstly,
yep.
thank you so much for opening up and being so vulnerable about that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and I know the listeners would be equally as appreciative. I just wanted to know, so that call, what was the purpose of it? Was that like with the legal team present or something like that? Is that why you had to say?
That's a good question. Like, I'm still like, it was to, I'm not even sure if there was a legal team present. But all I do know is that it worked, because, you know, I was kept in the dark, and still, even like I was saying at the beginning, still trying to collect objective information, without making anyone upset. I'll just leave it at that. You know, like if when I bring stuff up, it's like, I just want to, I'm curious. I want to know the truth. And, but yeah, with dad passing as well, he had dementia by the time we kind of rekindled later on. And we were working on our relationship when he had dementia. So I was like, well, yeah, I could have probably got more clean information from him specifically, but all I do know is that was the end of that. Yeah, but the purpose was, I guess, from my stepfather's side, was to just end it. So possibly there was a recording. I mean, I don't want to distort the truth, because I can create, but all I do know is that it did end after that. And they probably like kept me in the dark about everything else. So yeah.
Okay. Well, sorry to hear about your dad as well.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Yes.
And again, I know we'll get into the details of, you know, the reconnection and things like that later on.
Yeah.
So I won't go too much into that. Now they're my sort of random questions done. I have some more, I guess, some deeper things to go into if it's all right with you. So you mentioned a few times the fight, flight, or freeze response, and how many times you froze. You know, that call or the kid, you know, stabbing you in the back, which is crazy to me. And how that sort of sparked, you know, those thorns like you mentioned, and the I am, you know, and that sort of sense of like that lack of self-worth and things like that come with it. For anyone that is going through a similar thing at the moment, for someone whose I ams are the same as what they were at that point in your life, what would you say to them if they're listening now?
The first thing that came to mind is that God loves you and has a plan for your life, and that you are worthy, you know, you are good enough. Whether you believe it or not, truly now, I tell you it's the truth. Life is worth living. That's a message that I'm very passionate about, particularly for the youth, but anyone. Just like, things may look tough, and they probably are. Like, I'm not here to judge anyone's perception of suffering, but I think it was Shia LaBeouf. I think he said it. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He's incredible. Like, his energy is just insane. But he said, I think it was an Instagram reel thing, and he said like, what do you say? I've got to see if I butcher it or not. His quote was, "In the end, everything is going to be okay, and if it's not okay, then it's not the end." Yeah. So I just had that on repeat, and that's what comes to mind in terms of that. And to really, for me, I found my identity in Christ. And so, you know, I just, instead of saying I'm not worthy, because you talk about self-worth, that's a big one. And I think a lot of our limiting beliefs in general, we've got, you know, a lot of the phrases that it's our internal dialogue that really kind of, you know, and there's a spiritual aspect to this, you know, about the world, the devil, and the flesh. And our own internal thoughts can really get us down. But to just, you know, say I am good enough, like to look at the man or the woman in the mirror. That's why I encourage us, like, look at I challenge people to like look in the mirror. Actually look, you know, I know you brush your teeth and stuff, but it's more of like a quick, but actually look in the mirror, you're on your own, and then just check out the color of your eyes. Do you actually know what specific color your eyes are? You know, you've got beautiful eyes, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I was just like, is it the lighting? So I was like,
It must be. It must be.
Us
I
Asians, we only
appreciate
got
that.
brown. That's like it's one color. But the Lebanese and the, you know, have beautiful this array. But
I
like,
appreciate that. Thank
look
you.
in the mirror later and then tell you, like, you know, like you know, just to say like, oh wow, like this, and to say I'm worthy. You know, I'm good enough. And that you may not believe it the first time you do that, but like to start to be open to that. This frame of mind where you are worthy, you were made in the image and likeness of God, and you are just amazing, and you're like beautifully and wonderfully made. You know, this culture of life. So yeah, that's what comes to mind.
That's awesome, man. Thank you for that message.
Yeah.
Just on that last thing that you said is so beautiful and so important, because I remember hearing like on just telling ourselves, like looking in the mirror and just telling yourself, you know, you're loved, like you're worth it, whatever, is because I remember hearing Chris Stefanik say some of the worst things that you could possibly say to someone, we say it to ourselves. Like it's things that we wouldn't even say about our worst enemy. We say to ourselves, and it's self-talk is actually something that I feel like I always say this on the podcast. I'm like saying something and I go, not to sound like a hippie, but you know, and then I say something, but what I'm finding is it's like, it's real good Christian themes and messages and things like that have just been distorted over time. And so I feel like I sound like a hippie, but it's true. It's proper Christian, like theology basically is like, love yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Like you hear that and then you think like, that's some weird, you know, hippie thing. Like but it's no, self-love is important.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I've mentioned it a few times on the podcast, but when Christ says, love your neighbor as yourself, he presumes that you love yourself first. And so love your neighbor as yourself, like things like that. But yeah, the self-talk is so important. It's like, we really, really tell ourselves the worst things ever. And that has to change. And that's a beautiful, practical thing to do, is look in the mirror and tell yourself some of the best things you could tell someone.
Amen.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I love that you said that. And I appreciate that.
No, it's my pleasure. Like if we can geek out on like a morning routine schedule, on, you know, like all these affirmations and because I highly value, you know, like we were talking about on Saturday, the rule of life, right? I've got to schedule in your morning routine. And what does that look like? You know, when you open your eyes, you know, pray for your wife. Like she's next to me as she's snoring. First thing I do is like open my eyes, my 5 a.m. in Mark Wahlberg club, you know, like, or 4 a.m. club. I just open my eyes and, you know, just pray, you know, Our Father, Hail Mary for your spouse. You know, I think that's a good way to start. You know, invite God in, take 6 deep breaths, and then, you know, do my stretches. I'm going to get into it. Is that all right?
Yeah, please.
Do the stretches. And then I go, I have a glass of water pre-prepared from the night before. I scull that. Yeah, everything planned. Tomorrow's work today. That's the credo I got from the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't know if you've heard of that book. No. Incredible book. Highly recommend. So you plan tomorrow's work today, which beginning with the end in mind is the second habit. And then I got my gym clothes out ready on the floor, so it's in the way, and then, you know, put that on, and then you know, then already, like, you know, when you put your gym clothes on, you feel like, oh, okay, I got to do something with it now. You know, you just try to make it a smooth transition to the good habit. And then I get into the bathroom, and this links to these affirmations, right? So I get to the bathroom. And I'll look at myself in the eyes and like, you're worthy, bro. You know,
that's
you
awesome.
know, you're loved. You know, God loves you and has a plan for your life. You know, and then really look in the eyes, because I think a lot of us, we actually we think we're looking in our eyes, but we're actually not.
Yes,
because there's still that shame and guilt that lies still in me now. Like I'm not a finished product, but it's that consistency, the conditioning. over a long period of time, I feel like you start to believe it and you start to see yourself in that light. Anyway, I have this this thing about like splashing your face with cold water, and so sounds silly, maybe not, but you can try it tomorrow. It's splash your face like with cold water, like, you know, and I say, "Come, Holy Spirit," and then like, that it's like because of that stimulation on the face with the cold, it actually, there's a science behind it because it activates, whatever these dopamine, and you feel.
Like
Tell me you're not
ice
gonna.
baths.
Yeah. But in a
Yeah.
small way, if
Yeah.
you hit your face with cold water and your neck,
Yes.
it does. And if you think about it, if you get up and you feel more alive, right?
Yeah.
So then brush my teeth, and I've actually got a gift for you later. I've created these morning ignition questions as well. So
man.
I'll gift it to you. You put it in your bathroom, and you
You're a
ask the
legend.
questions like, "What am I happy about right now?" What am I excited about right now? Going on to the Against the Grain podcast. That was so just, what am I grateful for? Who can I serve today? Where's God calling you? So
You're a
to ask
legend.
these questions, but I truly believe the consistency, we need these little hacks. And to start the day off that way, really sets the tone. You see, when you ask yourself, what am I grateful for? Then you have a frame of looking for things more consistently that you're grateful for, But yeah, anyway, that's
That's
a
awesome.
bit of my morning routine to share with the audience and to challenge them to like create one for themselves.
That is so good. I love that. I
Mm.
love that. And I hope that I'm seriously going to take these on board because I need it.
Yeah, no worries.
And I hope, and I'm sure some of our listeners at least will take it on board, and we'll get back to you and let you know how that's
All right.
going.
Done.
Yeah, for sure. But and again, later on, if we have some time, I'm sure we're going to get into what day-to-day life looks like for you now,
Sure.
and things
Okay.
like that. And
Yeah.
some of these might come back up.
Yeah.
But just to finish off on this like first part of your
Yes.
life, actually I might leave this for the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna leave a note so I don't forget. There we go. You mentioned a few times, so you didn't tell your grandparents or your mum, when you got stabbed in the back, for example, because you didn't want to worry them more than they already,
Yeah.
they already have their worries.
Yeah.
And then you have that punch on at home,
Yep.
and you were so concerned about like your brothers seeing it and things like that. There was clearly an awareness and a selflessness from such a young age that you were so like that made you aware that other people were affected by like what you said and did. So like I want to word it correctly, that there's like, it's really easy for us to feel like we can be affected by everyone else, but that we don't affect anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So like we're always ready to be like offended and upset with someone when they do the wrong thing. But we're not, I guess we're not aware that, or as aware as we can be, that we do and say things that also affect other people. I hope I've made that point clear. I don't know if I'm saying it properly, but was that just something that was natural in you, like that awareness that you have an effect on other people, or was that because of the experiences that you had and that sort of teacher? Do you know? Would you? I don't know.
It's a good question. Like the first thing comes to mind. So in the context of, say, the bullying moment at school, in year 7, more like, I think it was more of a protecting myself. It was more like in terms of, if I go tell mum and grandma, they're gonna somehow potentially maybe blame me for something. I don't know. Like it was just kind of like this is what protecting myself from, the drama.
Yes.
So it's there's enough drama, and possibly from the moment with my stepdad on the phone with the custody battle thing. They're like the potential influence, potentially what you're trying to say is like the influence I had to kind of end that relationship with maybe there was a subconscious awareness around it, but definitely not a heightened awareness. It was just kind of like, I'm just going to roll with things, but I just want to avoid the drama. I just want to be safe, and I think that's that moment when I say safe, I think that's an important kind of theme as well. Like, we just want safety. I think that's a big thing. Just say if you didn't know me and I came into the room now and I had my hands behind my back, you'd be like, who's this guy? The first thing we think about is, if we're the new person, is like, oh, are we safe? And I think that became my fear. It's like, am I safe? I don't feel safe, especially after that. But yeah, like, I don't think I had at that age, I don't think I definitely didn't have a heightened awareness, but possibly, like, the way I see it, it's like we download these programs from childhood, all of us, and how to relate, how to live in this world, how to stay safe, how to survive. And I think I'm not a scientist or a neuroscientist, far from it. It was just like we download these programs at a young age, and they're kind of embedded as these drivers. And then when things hit the fan in the adult years, I think they come up again. They come up, and we play out those programs that our parents, downloaded, or we downloaded from our parents and or any carers and stuff. And I think we're so blessed lately because we've got so much access to. We're blessed and cursed because we've got so much access to information compared to our parents. So before, if we wanted to, in my time, like, if we wanted to know the distance between the Earth and the Moon, that's the question, right? We didn't have, hey Google, what's the distance between? Do you have a Google device here? We'll activate
Thankfully,
something.
no.
Yeah. But yeah, back then it's like, all right, if I was curious about that, I'll go get my mate, and it's like, we'll go ride our BMX bikes to the library, check into the library, then go down the hall, look for the Britannica encyclopedia. And then, but point is, from the point of the curious question to attain the answer, it'll take about an hour. But now it's just like, it's instant, I have no idea why I went there. Yeah, now I'm just like lost because of the moon and the sun. But yeah, that's the whole thing of, I'm totally going off, but this culture of instant gratification to delayed gratification compared to that, and yeah. I think I went completely off. I've lost track.
That's okay. That's okay. That was a great point anyway. But yeah, it was, I mean, yeah, in terms of the awareness and things like that so, yeah. All right, guys, does your foot roll in like mine, or maybe even roll out? Or do you just need general treatment for nail and skincare? For any problems with my feet, I go to MJ Podiatry. They're a mobile home visit network servicing all of Sydney, offering expert podiatry care for general treatments, sports injuries, custom orthotics, ingrown nails, and footwear advice, and offer NDIS and home care packaging. Visit mjpodiatry.com.au, call 0412 389 278, or email info@mjpodiatry.com.au to book your appointment today. Use code ATG10 for 10% off your treatment. I think that's good for the moment. I'll save some questions for the end as well.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, please.
So this may sound really ignorant of me, but in school, at least during my time, I went to an all-girls school in, do you know where Strathfield is?
I do. Yeah.
So I went to an all-girls school in Strathfield. So it was pretty like privilege driven. But I didn't know of any instances of like outright racism in school, but everyone knew that you were thinking it. It was one of those things where it was like, we had like, because in Strathfield you have like a highly Asian population in that area. So I think we were like 50% Asian, and then the rest of us were a mix of like Italian, Lebanese, some Aussies, like it was a whole mix. But like I never experienced anyone outrightly saying something to another person, but you knew that people were thinking about it. Besides that, like one instance, did you actively experience racism in school?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, that was the most dramatic point, but honestly, after that, not really. Yeah, like not in and that's why I say like it was a good school experience, except for that, one mentally unwell person. But generally, not much. I mean, there was subtleties. Yeah, like you probably like same, like you're thinking it.
Yeah.
The whole, and a lot of the you know, the Lebanese in our school were, you know, I could see sometimes like observe racism, you know, to them, and you know, the WOG thing, and you know, the Aussies kind of, you know, this is our, you know, but honestly, from my experience, you know, I graduated what, 2000, so it's like the guys were pretty good there, and it was run by brothers, so they were pretty strict as well. But there was compassion. I don't know. Yeah, that was the only time really. But like you said, like I think it was playing in internal. Yeah, internally. Yeah.
Any more?
Well, no, yeah, that was it. So it was just like that one instance that like triggered the whole like I need to stand with like my Asian brothers.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, but I still had Aussie friends, and yeah, they were beautiful for the
You didn't
most
grow
part.
hatred towards other races. It was just
No.
more so like I need to protect my own.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I need to be proud of who I am.
Yeah, kind of like maybe make a few more Asian friends.
Yeah.
Because I was like the token Asian with the Aussies, you know,
Oh,
like yeah. So, and then but yeah, I think it was more later on, yeah, in the like from the year 10 onwards. That's when I was like, oh, yeah.
Crazy how one experience can,
Yeah.
even if it's down the line, like
Yeah,
down the track,
not
it's
immediately.
It doesn't have to be immediately or instant. It's like it still triggers something later on.
Yeah.
Like your decision making and things like that
Sure.
can be based on, at least partially, on just one experience, which is crazy.
That experience without even realizing it.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's sort of the subconscious, right?
Yeah.
Because we're all kind of mostly playing from our subconscious, you know. But you know, just to talk about it like this, and you know, to be aware of it and even label it. I think labeling it, like I was saying at the Be Not Afraid, Robert Falzon's talk about wounds named, wounds that are healed. I truly believe that, but it's not easy for people to go back and kind of go, all right, face it and go, well, I'm going to name this. This is how I was feeling. It's hard, and without therapy and, you know, God's grace and all of that. But anyway, but I feel like it's really the only way that can start healing is if you actually go and label it, name it, and then not identify with that if it's a negative thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, sorry. So we'll continue on then from where you were at. So you've just joined this gang. You see the gang leader as kind of a father figure.
Yep.
Almost.
Yep.
And you just joined it from just a mate inviting you.
A mate inviting me. Yeah. It's just inviting me in, and he was, you know, he's a cool guy, one of the cool guys that came from Campsie. I think he came from Campsie. That he came in at year 10. But we became friends, and I don't know, he was just a rebel, and I was just like, oh, okay, I like rebels, you know, and so I just was attracted to that. But I was a good kid. Like I was generally very quiet, academically pretty good, not amazing, but not bad. I'm proud of becoming Dux for Catholic studies.
Nice.
Yeah, and I remember getting Dux and being really embarrassed about it at the time. I didn't even want to go up and receive it. You know what I mean? Like I bet, but by God's grace, obviously the Holy Spirit was working then.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point is, it's like it was just really mixed. But then, yeah, like I said, like joining this petty gang, I will call it that. This initially. And then I just felt like this is pretty petty, like in terms of kind of getting raw about it. It's like, well, we were told to, you know, I was like a gopher, like, you know, go collect money over here, go bash that guy for whatever reason. I don't even know these people, but I was just kind of this, me and the crew would just go out and just do these little gopher jobs. And I was like, where's the leader that's telling us to, you know, he's not even here. He's just kind of delegating. I was like, that's pretty crap. Yeah. And then, but then things intensified, you know, fast forward, when I met more heavier hitters in the game, and they were more organized. They were much older, much more mature in the, you know, distorted world of the crime, you know, the organized crime. And then I was like, oh, okay. So when we would go out like for fights, and we would go out to fight, or like, you know, not specifically, but subconsciously, I think we were all looking for a fight every time we went out to drink and go to, raves, and it was that kind of clubbing culture. Yeah, that's when it escalated, because, and I think because like the leader of this group, it was less of a gang specifically labeled, this is the name of the gang. It was more a brotherhood, I would call it. A distorted brotherhood, but a brotherhood nonetheless, because but yeah, like just a small group of us. We're living the apartment life in Chinatown, and that's kind of the dream, because we have access to all the clubs in King's Cross. And yeah, then we'll go out, party, pick up girls, and that was the whole thing, and get into fights. But then this leader would fight with us, and so we'd go out and get bloodied and bruised, go back to the apartment bloodied and bruised, and we'd bond. I think it's with men, it's a distorted way, but you bond more when you go out to battle together, and survive it. And this is like in this distorted way. That's what we were doing. We're going out to battle another group or another drunken group, and then come back and then commiserate together and put bandages on each other, and that forged the bond. But then, that's what we're doing now in men's ministry in a healthy way. Yes. This is the unhealthy way to do it. Yeah. If that's the model to kind of beware of for anyone that's considering any of that life. Yeah. I'm glad you're watching. Yeah. Don't do it.
Same here.
Yeah. So, I'm not, again, this is important to say, like, I'm not glorifying, by no means this life. I glorify God in all of this, because he's the one that was always present and pulled me out of it. So, but I guess back to the story. So living that life, drugs involved, right? So drugs are involved in that life. At the beginning, it's all like, popping pills and going to raves, and it's, pretty tame, I guess. But then I was introduced to the drug ice one day, and I had no idea what it was, to be honest. I think it was new to the market. I remember I was just playing my Nintendo 64, whatever it was back then. And this guy was just setting up something next to me. I had no idea what it was, but I was just playing my game. And then, he just set this up here, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, just trust me. And then he lights it up. He just puts the straw in my mouth. He goes, just suck it in. Just do it. Just do it. And I went, oh, whatever. And I'm just playing, and I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, I immediately threw the controller down, and I just felt this very distorted, false sense of courage, because, all those limiting beliefs in me, I felt like they unblocked. And again, I say distorted, because for good reason. But I got up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I felt the courage to do anything. I could do anything right now. I could face any fear. And this false sense of courage became my thing, my drug of choice, right? And that's the identity again. It's just like, this is my drug now. I took ownership of it. And then anyway, that distorted kind of connection with that, long story short, kind of, I think I tried it when I was 17 or 18. And then, just the constant progression of the consumption of that, which spiraled when I was around 25, 26, when that's the rock bottom moment occurred, where, I wasn't associated with any gang per se then. It was more, I was just on my kind of own. And it snapped my ankle, which I still have actually plates and screws in now that's holding my leg together, just this bottom part. And I snapped it just being a goose at a friend's place playing Xbox Connect, of all things. Yeah, like I know it was the age of the Xbox Connect. I don't know if the Microsoft they released where you're the remote. There's no remote. Like you actually are. And then I was playing table tennis. It's so embarrassing. I don't think but it's the truth. Yeah. So I was playing Xbox Connect at my mate's place, and we were all off our heads, drunk, high. It was early morning. And then I just took a swing. I jumped in the air, and then I landed twisting my ankle, like just on my right leg, and just snapping it. But I just put my leg up because everyone's off their head. Like I'm not going to the hospital or anything. A normal person would go straight to hospital, but I just left it there, and it's started to swell up, and I was like, oh gosh, and I was scared to go to the hospital because I was, not in a good state. But I went, and then anyway, that was I call it a holy moment now, because that was the grace that I needed for me to wake up, to start. God was trying to shake me, I believe, to wake up from this path. Because I feel like if you're a drug addict, this is like the analogy I use is like a train. You're on a train, but there's opportunities to step off that train. But at the end of the final destination is you lose everything when you die, and you lose everyone you love. But there's opportunities of grace along the way. These stops with good people that may challenge you to wake up, and you have the freedom of choice. One of the greatest gifts that God has given us is to, we can choose. But, when you're in that state, it's a bit easier said than done. But I needed that. So God, I snapped my ankle. In the healing process, I was on endone, which is a very strong painkiller, as well as illicit drugs. And by then I was living the dream boy's life. It was once upon a time, Homebush Bay, but now it's Wentworth Point, but living there, and then in an apartment, and then we were hosting a house party, and then anyway, I made a fool of myself at this house party. I was paranoid, I pushed my girlfriend away. I was paranoid about her, my cousin, and like just a mess. And then I had this mad like ice rage, I'll call it, and I just started just screaming at everyone at the party, and then bashing doors in, and then ended up crying, and all these things, the emotions were coming out. And then I went back into my room after everyone had left, and I felt so much shame, embarrassment of what I just did, and then all the childhood stuff would be coming up, that shame and guilt at one time, right? And plus I had all these substances in me, all of that stuff. And then in the next morning, I hadn't slept, and then I just started to see this dark cloud in the corner of my apartment room next to the balcony door. And I felt it, there was no kind of audio, but I felt it urging me, just end the suffering, bro, just end it. What do you got to lose? And at the time it was reasonable for me, because I was like, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual suffering was at an all-time high. And then, I was still hopping. So I was like, I had my crutches, but I just hopped over to the balcony. It was a beautiful blue day. And then, hopped over. Then I looked off over the balcony, and I noticed there was there was an awning there. And so, unless I had a functioning leg, I couldn't like run and kind of clear it. So I wouldn't be able to make it. So by the grace of God, I couldn't, not to say if I would or not, but I couldn't, and I didn't. And then I looked up into the sky, and then I guess it's my first honest prayer. I said, "Are you effing there? Are you effing there?" Like I screaming, just screaming like that, and I started laughing, I started crying, and then I just hobbled back into my bed. And then I just knocked out what I think felt like days. And then I woke up. It wasn't like angels that came down and I saw an apparition or anything like that. But God had gifted me with a sense of curiosity for the question of like, what is the meaning of life? Like, why am I here? Who am I? All those classic philosophical questions that I never had the courage or bothered to look at or try to answer head on. And so, I started this journey, this quest to try to find out the meaning of life for me. And it was Buddhism. Like I said, my first stage was actually Buddhism for a bit, because most of the mates were Buddhist. And I looked into nature. Nature was a big thing for me, because I thought like, well, we're obsessing over this iPhone. Steve Jobs is not here and not in every iPhone, but there's a designer behind it. He was the designer, him and Wozniak, whatever. And I'm like, there's got to be a designer behind the moon. I was obsessed with the moon and trees. Like God granted me this grace of like having this awareness like a child again, or wonder like a child. That was a great gift, and still is, because I still spin out. Like we're on this blue ball right now, guys. Like spinning around this hot sun, and if we went off by a few degrees, we'd be all gone. Like even that, and then and then I remember being at Brighton Les Sands, because I used to live in Cogra, and I was just sitting under this tree, cleaning up this tree, and then just going, oh my gosh, like thank you for giving me oxygen. It wasn't specifically God. I was talking to the tree, so my friends thought I had lost it.
Yeah.
But I was just disconnecting with technology, and then just connecting with nature. And then after that, I saw a little toddler run past. I was like, no batteries. How's that working? This cute little golden head toddler running around. I'm like, yeah, this is insane. So that was the first, like, just my understanding of that God, there is a divine creator, divine architect behind this. And from there, went on a journey with to Buddhism. And then I heard Christian music, and I had the ears to hear it. And there was one particular song, I think Hillsong. It was a Hillsong song called "Breathe" by Darlene Zech, and it was just like she was just saying, "This is the air I breathe." Like but she was praising Jesus in this song, and I was just like, "Who's this Jesus guy?" They're talking about, and I was moved by the music, for sure, and then I was curious about who Jesus is from that point. And then I looked into who he is. I thought he was like, to be honest, I thought he was like Santa Claus, like a comforting myth we tell little kids to behave. But then I found out he's a real person in history. So I'm thinking, if he was a real person in history, not everyone believes that he's the Son of God. But why is he still so impactful? 2,000 years ago, he's 2,000 miles away. But we're still the biggest faith community in the world. But putting that aside, it's like, how did this man, do it, And then, I don't know. There's a long journey to kind of like, I read the Gospels. I came across a Catholic speaker named Matthew Kelly, who used to live in Strathfield. So that's where he started doing like Catholic talks. And now he became so big that he moved to, I think, Florida now, and he's got dynamiccatholic.com. But anyway, it was a CD that was given to me that changed my life. So my Filipino auntie, gave it to me years before, like when I was still in the dark spot. And I grabbed it and I went, yeah, whatever. And it was kind of like in the glove box of my car or wherever. Then it's somehow it popped up again. And then the title on the CD is "Becoming the Best Version of Yourself." So I had no idea it was a Catholic CD. So it was just like, I want to become a better version of myself now. That sounds attractive to me. So I pop it on, and then it's him, just like dynamic communicator. Like I never heard a Catholic layman who's a businessman, right, in the world, because I had this mixed association with, you can't love money. You can't be careful about money and stuff. So I was just like, well, but then he was a successful businessman with a fortune, dealing with Fortune 500 companies. He had a consultancy firm, or still does, Floyd Consulting, but still be a practicing Catholic. And he was talking about the beauty of the Catholic faith, the richness of the Catholic faith, this holistic approach to holiness I got from him. Because he's talking about, it's important to have habits in the four aspects of a human person: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual goals. That to have those goals in mind as you live out your habits in your day to day. And so he gave a practical model, and then he talked about the sacraments and the Catholic Church. So I was just intrigued with the Catholic Church, and then I started to follow that, like, his model. Started to consume all his content, his books, Rhythm of Life, and then he became, again, so it's funny now, it's dawning on me, like, I'm constantly looking for a father figure, and in a way he became that father figure who wouldn't be able to talk back. So I think I'm just thinking about it now, like, wow. I kind of adopted him. Well, I did, yeah. there you go. I'm having a moment now.
Awesome.
Where like he doesn't even know I exist, you know, and he's that, you know, and that's the beauty of like content like this is like you just don't know who you can impact, and he's changed my life. Like his talks, his book, and now changing my family's life and my kid life. We'll go there later, but yeah. So then he talked about the riches of the Catholic Church. I was intrigued by that, and then I experienced the whole like daily mass. And my grandmother was the great evangelizer here. So we, like I said, we lived in Cogra, and across the road. So this is the Jubilee Stadium, the footy kind of connection.
Yeah.
So I lived near there, and then across the road, I had no idea. There's this retired like Redemptorist chapel where the retired priests would go. Super small chapel, you know, about double the size of this room. Very intimate. But my grandmother, and this is how she would like, I look back and she's the best. She's a gun evangelizer. Because she'd be like, "Can you walk me across the road?" Because it literally lived across the road, and just because she, you know, and she was putting on the Ackies a bit, like she's like, "Oh, but I need help," you know. And I'm like, "Of course, how can I say no to grandma?" You know. Yeah. So then I'd walk her across reluctantly across the road to the chapel, and then you know. I try to drop her off at the door, and then she'd be like holding on and pulling me in, so dragging me into the chapel, and then she'd always go left to the Our Lady of Perpetual Help icon. If you know, I don't know if you can visualize that, but the beautiful icon, the golden icon of the Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and then she'd light a candle and then do her little like. Filipino prayers, and you know, and I know that she'd been praying for me, and then to kind of look back is like the prayers of my grandmother, my mom, and the Filipino community. I truly believe that they saved me in that moment of despair, you know, like that rock bottom moment that I shared. And so the message for the audience and for everyone is like, well, you know, don't discount the power of prayer, you know, and God's timing is perfect. You never know. Like, you know, God's not a genie. He's not going to make it, but like he'll hear your prayers. And I don't know. I just feel because of her prayers that I was saved. And anyway, after, she took me to she'd take me with her and forced me to go to this daily mass. I fell in love with the mass for the first time, at daily mass. And then I really valued I begun this Eucharistic love for Christ through the Eucharist, and I was studying a lot, like kind of like reading the Catechism, like I didn't know it existed, but I wonder actually how many Catholics actually have read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, because it's so rich and it's the reason for our hope, which is Jesus, and it's the reasons. You know, it can be quite, you know, there's a thick version of it, but there's also like youth catechism. And UCAT for kids, which is what I'm reading for my boys now. Like, and it's so, you know, kids are brutal. They're very honest, yes. You know, and I think the youth catechism for kids is so simple. It's like, you know, like what is the meaning of life? It's like, well, to know, love and serve God in this world so we can be with him forever in the next. You know, I wonder how many of us know that. You know, that's from a Catholic Christian perspective. It's a beautiful thing to strive for. I've gone off again. I mean, I was in daily mass with my grandma. Sorry, can I ask? No, go. Just reel me in, man.
Yeah, no, you're good. I just want to know, at this point where you're from, when you've kind of started, like researching, I guess, or trying to find the answer to that question that was put on your heart, you know, what is the meaning of life? And you're going through Buddhism and things like that. In that whole process, have you stepped away from because I know you weren't a part of the gang, like a part of a gang at that time.
Yes.
Were you still in a life of, like, were you still involved in a bit of crime, drugs, things like that? When did that kind of die off?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in that context, so the organized crime aspect of that, like, was fading away. Some, you know, those things that happened that I didn't completely get involved in, like a very close friend of mine went to jail. And so I guess the opening of like, wow, this world, you either, you know, that whole thing, you end up dead or in jail, right? You hear all the time. And me visiting my mates in jail all the time at Windsor, at Silverwater, I was just like, oh wow, there's a consequence to this. And I started to awaken to, well, probably, I think I don't want any of this anymore, but how do I get out? But luckily, like with the whole gang thing, I never had any bad, usually it's like you're fighting over girls or you're fighting over money, but for me, it was brothers first over girls, and money was like, I never had any, debts or anything like that. Again, I'm not proud of all this, but so I kind of, it was easy for me to transition out. With I know there's some gangs that you've got this, it's very complicated, but by the grace of God, it wasn't that complicated for me to kind of transition out. It was just purely my choice. But I was still tethered to my addictions, and so ice was the major one, but obviously it's a gateway to other like addictions. Like gambling was a huge one for me, because with ice, you don't sleep, you don't eat. It's like the total opposite of what I strive for now. You don't sleep, you don't eat. When you're bored, what do? Pornography is a massive one. Gaming. It was like Call of Duty came. It was just, you just get zoned into that for days. Like you just, So with that stimulant, it just amplifies everything else for the worst. So I was still tethered to that, for sure. And it was mainly the brothers, because they were like family. But at this stage, the brothers weren't doing, they weren't going out fighting all the time. That was the earlier days. Yeah. Everyone was just kind of more chill, but still addicted and broken. Like all of my brothers, we were all broken young men with our own stories to tell, and traumas from childhood that feel safe together, which I have a lot of compassion for. I broke free in terms of like I encountered Christ, truly through, confession was a massive one. My first confession. I think the poor old priest probably was sitting in there because I took it so seriously. Like I wrote down, like based on the 10 Commandments, the examination of conscience. Yes. Like I was guided well. But I was like, I've like broken almost like every single one, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, had tears on the paper. I wish I still had it. Like it was as a reflection. But then I went into the confession for, just poured my heart out, and, released a lot of that burden, like Jesus was truly there. And so that encounter, I was like, no, I've had a taste of the eternal. And this love that I wasn't fully sure of, but the love that I needed to pursue now. But then I was still tethered to the past. So it's like when you turn towards something, you're turning away from something, right? So, the drug addiction was still there. And then, slowly, I don't know. So what is it? Yeah. So over time, so at that time I guess this is important to bring in my beautiful wife because at the time she was my girlfriend, and she was always there to support. She was pretty wild. She'd probably kill me for saying this, but we met like, wasn't like, we met at church and, this is like, she was a wild party animal. And so was I. I think we met at a house party in Baralla or Regent's Park, full old school kind of. Yeah. We were good friends. We both had our own storms, our own, she can tell testimony maybe in the future here one day.
Please God. But that'd be awesome.
But a big part of that is like, well, I found, I wanted to take seriously the Catholic Church. And so marriage was a part of that. We couldn't, I was like, we can't just live in this state of sin now. And she's just like, okay, well, like you're just kind of being dragged along by me. But when I first turned to Christ, I think I'm hearing now more often, it's quite common that, you're very fervent, like you have the fire of the Holy Spirit, like so much, like, oh my gosh, like everyone's got to know, like you got to do this or you're going to hell, you know, like, you know, and my wife, like, well, she was my girlfriend at the time, is like, oh, what the heck is wrong with you, man? Like, she would have been thinking you're crazy, and she probably still does. No, I know she still does. But yeah, so I was like, we got to get married, you know, and honestly, like, you know, I financially, like, think about it from this perspective, like from 17 to 26, when you're in that life, right? What's there to talk about? We're not growing, we're not learning, we're not at uni, right? We're not developing ourselves. And so, like, you know, what's the vocabulary range with the boys? It's just like, hey, bro, you going out today? Yeah, bro. Are you want to go drink? Yeah. All right, sweet. All right, I'll see you there, bro. You know, but that's about the extent of the range of vocabulary we use.
Yeah.
And so I'm out in the world now, and I found Christ. I'm like, I cannot be, you know, living a life of sin, right? Like selling poison or any of that stuff, right? So it's just like, well, what do I do? What skills do I have? And that was a very difficult moment, and I could barely communicate in the real world, but like I think I've gone off from your question, but I think
No,
I'm
please,
going to
yeah.
link it back.
No, go for it.
But yeah, it's so essentially it was like my mum, she was running, she had a shop because she's an entrepreneur. She still had a cafe in Bondi Junction at that time. And, you know, she needed help. She was always open. So I'd go there, and then there was a coffee machine. So I started making coffee, really poorly. But then I was like, well, you know, it's a grace because I could help my mum, and then she would give me some, you know, I get paid by my mum in the business. And then still the ego was there. The ego was there. It's like, oh, then I'll become the manager and I'll take over and I'll open up like 5 other cafes, you know, like it was just, you know, again, I'll make so much money. So I was still in that mode, but I'll do it. You know, it's a more legitimate way of, you know, ascending to the top of the ladder.
Yes.
But through that process, I started to enjoy like hospitality, you know, talking to people, and I fell in love with with coffee, like being a barista and serving people. And I think the time I actually fell in love with coffee was actually not making a coffee; it was making a hot chocolate. There was this girl from, I think she's like, looks like she was in high school, and she was walking towards the bar. And, oh man, I'm thinking about it now. This is how, okay. So she had like a backpack on, right? A heavy backpack on, you know, like, you know, and she looked sad about something, right? So she was walking towards the bar, and you could just see by the body language, like, wow, she's going through something today. And so I had this compassion for her, and she ordered a hot chocolate. She ordered a hot chocolate, and then, you know, I wasn't a prayerful person, so per se, but I was spinning the milk as you steam the milk for the hot chocolate. And as the milk is spinning, I'm praying. I'm going, I hope this is the best hot chocolate she'll ever have, and make her day a little bit better. And so I make it, put the chocolate on, put the cap on, give it. She just slides the, you know, $3 at the time. Now coffee's like $10 or something, but $3 at the time. Not even looking up, right? And then she walks away, and then probably about like 20 meters away, she turns around, you know, and then she has this like goofy grin with the chocolate on her face, and she's smiling, right? So no words were exchanged, but I was like, oh, you know, in that like 60-second exchange, somehow I was able to be an instrument to elevate her day. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. So started making coffee, and that became my kind of skill that I was sharpening outside of that previous world. But again, I was still tethered to, you know, going out with the boys and still getting on it, and then but less frequent, and, you know, I'd be lost for like a few days and then reset. It's like kind of looking forward to that Friday, that whole culture, and then party, and then on Monday start again, right? But yeah, then I picked up a job where I was making coffee in Darlinghurst, and yeah, just like right now I'm my from that was like 14, 15 years ago. Now I'm still in the coffee industry, but not as a barista, but in wholesale. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you going through that, because I think that's something that a lot of people can struggle with, is trying to balance not even balance, but there's their life at church and there's their life outside of church. And it's hard to make them one and to like to understand that you're not just a Christian at church, you're also a Christian everywhere else.
Yep.
You know, in your life. And I've seen, now again, this isn't from, I feel like I always need a preface with this because I don't want anyone to think I'm coming from like a self-righteous point of view, thinking I'm like perfect and I've got this all down pat. It's not the case at all. But I've seen many times, especially in my own parish, people really struggle with that. And then they've come out, thanks be to God, you know, figuring out that, you know, this is living for God is not just at church. It's living every aspect of life for God. But unfortunately, I've also seen it go the other way. So I just I appreciate you going into that, because that's I think for a lot of people, something that we could be going through at the moment that we might be struggling with, and it's nice to know that, you know, someone like yourself was also struggling with that at some point. But sorry, I did disrupt you. You were saying you were going to daily mass, and then I disrupted you with that question.
No,
sorry.
it's fine. No worries. Yeah.
So daily mass, yeah. So
yes.
Sorry, actually, on the daily mass thing, did that start with just like going to mass on a Sunday, or did you just go, I need to go all in on this Catholic thing after like listening to Matthew Kelly and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Kelly definitely, you know, in his talks was about, you know, honoring the Sabbath day, so Sunday. And yeah, I took the 10 Commandments very seriously. So, because I felt like I didn't have any rule of life, and, you know, the whole, you know, it's simple, like 10, you know, sounds simple, but it's not. It's very complex. But I felt like, okay, I need some grounding. I need an anchor, because I felt like I'm just this ship, you know, this my whole life I've just been this ship without a rudder, and, you know, just going along. And then now I'm older and I'm becoming a man, I guess. I needed something to anchor on, or someone, specifically God. And he prescribed the 10 Commandments, and I was like, all right, I'm going to start here. And, you know, it's one of the commandments is keep the Sabbath day holy. And then, you know, I feel like they're all pregnant in a way, because there's a lot more to unpack in each specifically. But yeah, I took it seriously, and Sunday Mass was a given. But yeah, like I didn't go to rehab for my addiction, and I say like maybe I should have, but I was too shameful, not vulnerable enough, like, and too prideful to ask for help. So I just kept going back to confession, and so I had my first confession, the sacrament of confession, with that the beautiful redemptorist priest who was so patient with me, and then after that breakthrough, I would go to St. Mary's Cathedral, because I feel like it's it's like a doctor. When you go to a doctor, you go to the main hospital, the best hospital. So I thought, you know, St. Mary's Cathedral is the ultimate, spiritual hospital. Yeah. And so I went there, and also you could hide because they have the traditional, you know, you don't have to show your face or anything. You could do it discreetly.
Nice.
But I did encounter a beautiful Irish priest. I think, or Father Ben Saliba told me his name's Father Brennan, who's retired now, and he was just so loving and such an instrument for Christ, in terms of like he would hear me and I felt heard. And then he would just the resounding message was that God loves you, and, you know, he has a plan for you. Don't give up, you know, keep coming back, because it's not me, it's Jesus you're coming back to. You know, so he knew at the time, like, you know, what the deal was, right? And then after a while, I kept on. Sometimes I'd go away and still get on it straight after confession, you know, and then feel guilty for 2 days, and then come back again. And by God's grace, he'd be the confessor for some reason. Like, it's not even Like, you know, because they've got so many priests that are on schedule, but there was a consistent period when, you know, I feel God was there for me through him. And I'd keep coming back, and then I got to the point where he was like, yeah, God loves you, has a plan for your life, but you stop doing it. It's like, and that, you know, just hearing that was enough for me to go, all right, I'm going to, you know, stop. And I ended up stopping for longer and longer, but still, I was still tethered. You know, I think one of the saints was saying, like, you know, if you're tethered by a chain or a string, you're still tethered. So instead of being a chain, I think it was downgrading to more of a rope to a thread, but still tethered. But slowly, because of the sacrament of confession, it's like just the best sacrament because it's free of charge, you know, you know, the church offers it freely, and, you know, like it has a beautiful structure around it, that you can go and really be yourself for Christ. Anyway, kept on going back, and that was enough. That final of like, I'd stopped doing it, and I'm like, so I realized I just had to stop hanging out with the boys. So this was the toughest part of going, bro, I can't see you guys anymore because I love them, you know, and they love me. I was the funny guy, and I had a persona there, you know, I had an identity there. So turning away, I was like, who am I going to be? And, you know, I can be like, I was planning to get married. So, you know, I started to focus on my wife and what that could look like and how terrifying that was, because financially I had nothing, you know, in the bank. And, you know, like the society is like, you know, you've got to have a property, you got to have a good job. You know, my grandma would be like, you got to have a corporate job, the typical, be a lawyer, be a doctor, you know, like, or at least working in, you know, in the city and wear a suit. Yeah, I could be working at Foot Locker and wearing, you know, it doesn't matter. She just wanted me to work in the city and wear a suit, you know, and in some corporate thing, because in the Philippines, that's what you consider like you've made it, you know. But yeah, I just still felt that I'm not good enough, you know, that whole thing. But God is like, he was pulling me towards him. But yeah, where was I before that? Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, so I found, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought.
Talking about your wife.
Marriage, the vocation of marriage. Yeah. Thank you. They're the best. Vocation of marriage, and then what that could look like. But terrified because I felt like I wouldn't be able to provide. And then I remember going to Our Lady of Perpetual Help because, you know, modeled by my grandmother. I went on my own. And I remember lighting the candle and, you know, just being all like, look, I need your help. And then all of a sudden I felt this heat come through me, and I started crying. I said, Mom, can you help me? Financially, I can't do this. You know, I just can't. Now I'm making $12 an hour as a barista. But I know I'm not going to turn back to that life, but I know isn't this what you want? Like your son wants me to do, you know? Yeah, that was tough because I was like, yeah, it was my first, the financial thing, like, and also like, how can we do this? But then I knew it was just, we gotta get married or become a priest or something, you know, like, yeah, there was a point where I was going to sell everything. It was so funny because I was like, tattoos, you know, like as well. So going back to confession, I was like, okay, Father, I'm going to get all my tattoos erased. I'm going to sell my Subaru Liberty and I'm going to go to Malaysia and like, or Philippines and be a missionary. And he goes, calm down. I remember he was like, you know, it's awesome to have a spiritual coach, right? He's like, just calm down. Number one, with the tattoos, because I said, I read it in the Bible. You can't have, you know, markings on, you know, and he goes, what is the tattoo of, right? And I said, it's a koi fish and an eagle. And he goes, well, what's the meaning around it? He goes, is there anything demonic, right? I go, no, like it's animals. But the meaning was for the koi was to go against so it's a koi going against the river, against the law. That was the kind of thing. And the eagle was to be free to, you know, do whatever I want, you know, pridefully, you know, to fly wherever I want, because I felt so bound and now I'm free in the gang or whatever. He goes, can you change the meaning? I went, yes, I can. Like they're creatures of God, and the freedom is in Christ, and the bird, the eagle, and the fish is going, Jesus was
Against
a
the
rebel
grain.
against the
Against
grain.
There we go.
But
This is so fitting, yeah.
hey, are you guys waiting for that?
You're the new face of this podcast.
This is the setup, yeah. Because the koi fish, in the mythology is like there's a koi in the pond, just with all, so all the other fish just swimming, getting on with life, mediocrity. And then there's this river that comes down, but then there's this one fish or a few that goes against the grain, right? that goes, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to go upstream, up against the flow of the river. And then eventually, so this is the midpoint version of that. So going against, and this it's just this fish that kind of goes, I beg to differ. And I'm going to go up, and then it starts to transform from a normal koi fish to this form, this elevated form. And then eventually the fish that makes it to the end, to the top, turns into a dragon. So not so good. So my goal was to actually get a tattoo of the fish in the pond here. And this was midpoint. And then up here would have been the dragon wrap around my neck.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. Didn't get to that point. But anyway, the point of that was like the fish I changed to go against the grain. It's like Jesus did, the disciples did, to build the kingdom. Something life building, bringing, then life destroying. Yeah. And so I changed the meaning. I didn't get it erased. Thank you to Father for that. And then I didn't sell my Subaru Liberty and become a monk. But anyway, I did. So that I'm jumping around, but I did find, I did know that I'm going to marry this beautiful woman. I discerned that. And then, we just had this gunshot wedding, essentially, only within, I don't know how many months. She'll kill me if I give a month and it's a wrong month because I keep forgetting numbers. So she remembers everything. But we got married pretty quickly. She was of the Uniting Church. So we weren't fully aligned. We were aligned in Jesus, and she had her own personal relationship with Jesus. But still misunderstandings of both sides as well with, Catholic Church teaching. I didn't understand, the Protestant teaching as much either, but I think it was through actually tragedy in terms of her losing her grandmother, who was very close. She was very close to, and me losing my stepfather, my later stepfather, who I ended up becoming close to. I think that through death we contemplated what is deeper. What's the meaning of all of this? And then anyway, so we had a beautiful marriage in the Catholic Church. She became Catholic, so she was baptized in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So even in the Protestant Church, it's valid is the term, I think.
Yes.
But was confirmed, and she was received into the church, and then we were married in the Catholic Church, and we had our first son. So we were married, and then she was pregnant by God's grace. And again, it was that whole thing of financially, how am I going to provide, and I'm not even, again, I'm looking at like, we've got married somehow and, had a lovely wedding. And so God did provide, and then again, I was on my knees at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Like, how am I going to raise this child? Because there was complications happening in my Filipino side of the family financially. And I had to help them out. My little brothers were still little. They're adults now, and they're providing and helping out. But back then it was just me. I was the man of that house, but then I had to be a man of this new house. Without a house, I didn't even own a house. So finances were a huge challenge. So I went to Our Lady again. And I was, again, just said, I've got to surrender this petition to you. And then I received for 3 months of desolation in that sense of finding a job, the challenges of finding a job. Then actually on my birthday, the 25th of July, so at this time I was working at a cafe in Darlinghurst, and we stocked this specific coffee, and then I got along with the rep pretty well. He'd do deliveries and whatnot. And then on my birthday, he called me out and said, I need to talk to you. I'm like, okay, whatever. I was already pretty down, but my wife was probably like 3-4 months pregnant at this point. And then he said like, oh, this is the offer. Like, I want to go back to Melbourne. I think you'd be perfect for this job. You jump in the van, you do what I'm doing, do deliveries, more wholesale rather than just be here as a barista. You get, salary and all that. And even at that time, I didn't have ears to hear because I was so depressed. I don't want to use the word depressed so easily, but I was really down. So I didn't really have ears to hear, but he just wrote down the number. He said, call this number, who's the boss of the business in Sydney. And so I did. At night, I called the boss, had my notepad and paper out, and I wrote down, the structure, like your salary, company vehicle. I was making hundreds of money, but it was way secure. I think that's the thing. I wanted security for my family, safety and security, and I didn't have that. I was so anxious. But God is so good. He allows us to go through suffering, so we can grow. He's never leaving us. So anyway, so I wrote down and then I put the pen down after I got off the phone with the boss, and I said yes. And then I showed my wife, and we were just like, wow, in tears. Like, this is amazing. Like, we can actually do this, And so yeah, like I haven't left this company for 13 years. I've been working for them. And we're able to provide. God's good. Like, we're not, multimillionaires, but we're able to provide for our legitimate needs to this day. Yeah. Yep.
Thanks be to God.
Yes, thanks be to God.
That's awesome.
All things, yeah.
All right. A few things now before we get to the next stage of your life.
Yep.
Thank you again for sharing all of that. And it's amazing that you had this kind of, like, it was a moment in your life that really changed things. Like, obviously there is different moments that all contributed, but there's this kind of one moment that changed, but it wasn't necessarily miraculous in the sense like, it wasn't a voice you heard or a vision that you had or something like that. Which is, I think, is so relatable for most of us. Like, most of us don't have the, that real gift and blessing of a vision or to hear things or whatever, like, hear the voice of God in our hearts, or so it's really real, and I appreciate, and I really like, I just relate to that, and I love it. Nice. I'll try and go in chronological order with my questions, but I may get it wrong because I've got both my phone and my notepad.
Oh, good.
One thing actually you mentioned that I wrote down here was, you were saying that you started to notice, like the trees and like just creation, and you thought, well, there has to be like a creator behind it, the same way as like the designer that you mentioned and things like that. And that's so powerful because last week we had, which the episode will go out this Wednesday.
Okay.
But I mean, whatever. By the time people hear this, it would have been last Wednesday. But last week we had, I don't know if you know the artist D. Mully. Have you heard of D. Mully?
No.
He does like, he's done like, I see him mainly at Catholic events and things. He's doing like live artworks that they end up auctioning or whatever at like functions and all that. Anyway, I noticed him when he was doing like on social media. He was doing murals on walls inside homes of like the face of Christ and Our Lady, and then like the first one I saw was Christ, Our Lady, and Saint Charbel, on a wall, and it was beautiful. And anyway, so we had him on the podcast. He's as far as I can understand, he's an atheist, could be agnostic. I'm not sure.
All right.
Which shocked me because I was like,
yeah, right.
His work is incredible. Like,
wow,
the religious work that he does, is so moving. Wow, that I thought it just surprised me that he wasn't a Christian. Anyway, but we were speaking, and there was a point where he said it would be irresponsible of me not to share my gift of art, right? My passion for art. And then I said to him, I was trying to be charitable, and I hope I was charitable in what I said. I didn't use these exact terms because I didn't want to be uncharitable, but I said to him, it would also be irresponsible of me to not appreciate the art, but then also acknowledge the creative mind behind it, right? So then I said, I mean, he kept doing the podcast, so I assume he was all right with what I said, but then I wanted to say, and I used different words for this part, was it would also be irresponsible of me when I look out, because I'm the same, like I look out at creation and I'm in awe of it. It's just amazing. It's particularly like, like the sunrise or the sunset and the water and trees, and I love that sort of view. Yeah. And I just, and I said, like, it would be irresponsible of me to look at that and not appreciate it for what it is, the creation for what it is. But then it would also be irresponsible of me to not acknowledge the creator of that creation, right? Yeah. And that just stood out to me when you said that, because it's something that I can, like, it just resonates with me. Is you look out, you see things, and if you don't believe that God exists, then you, by default, you're saying that all of this, the orbit of the earth around the sun at a perfect like axis and all that stuff, that's all just a coincidence. Yeah. And it's like, really, what sounds crazier to you? Yeah. That this is all just coincidental, or that there's actually a designer, a creator behind it. Like I don't know. That was, there's no question behind that. I just wanted to share that. It's like, I love that you said that, because I fully agree.
The whole thing is like, the challenge for your audience is like, just tap into childlike wonder, like just stare at the moon. Just stare at the moon. I remember I was so grumpy one day with my son when he was younger, and I was just like, my head was down, and I'm holding him, walking through the yard, whole world in my head, and then he goes, "Daddy," and I went, "What?" And he's like looking up. This is at night, and it's like beautiful moonlit night. He's like, "The moon," I was like, my heart, I was like, it's so cute. Like, I'm still moved now, because it's like, I'd forgotten as well, it's so easy to forget in the busyness of everyday life, because I was a dad now, and I'm doing the thing, provider. But then he reminded me, the God's grace, like the next generation, he reminded me, like, wow, okay, the moon. And then I just sat there, just staring at the moon, and then just looking at the crater. Like, you can notice, you can almost see someone jumping on the moon. Like, when you stare at it for that long, like how long, like even now with social media and our tablets and stuff, like I try to remind myself always, just look up. It's better for your neck too, but but like, just like, how often do we look up? Now just stare at a tree, just look at a bird's nest for a while, just be present. Amen.
I said that to the teens group at St. Felix once, right? I just said, like, I was talking about this exact thing, and I was saying, like, I thought it was just going to be a passing comment to get to my point, and so I just said, when you like look at the moon and you just think, like, how beautiful is the moon tonight, and then everyone just like stared at me, and I was like, and then I stopped before I finished my point. Hippie. Yeah. That's exactly.
Bro, we're moon brothers, brother.
Like,
let's own it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, 100%. And I just stopped. I was like, is that not a thing? Do you guys not do that? And everyone was like, no. I was like, what are you talking about? Look up. Like, get off your devices and look up. I literally, it's freaky.
Anyway. It's going to be the movement. #look up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yes. Oh, is there? Is there something?
I think maybe.
Oh.
There was a movie that actually, was it called Don't Look Up? Never mind.
Maybe.
We're going to do #look up. We're going to start it on this.
All right, done. We're going to post something. I'm going to find
post
all my sunset and like nature photos in my phone.
Yes.
Yeah, this is going to be a short, what Andrew said, with those photos. Awesome. And then we're going to start a #look up movement.
There we go. Oh my gosh, this is happening.
Do you reckon this will...
We already started a # movement and it worked.
Okay.
So that was Father Ben.
Yeah,
so Andrew...
Yeah, right on.
Because the priest just has so much more influence.
But just the preface, don't look up when you're driving.
Look up, #look up.
Look up.
And then like little what are those things called? You know, that little writing on the commercials
Oh, yeah,
when it's safe.
yeah.
Yeah, love that. All right.
Yeah, cool.
That's a thing.
Awesome.
What's the other thing? What else? I can't even read my own writing. Okay, we'll go to these.
Yep.
What I had prepared, because I'm really interested. I'm sorry, I haven't prepared you for any of these questions.
No,
but
I'm
yeah, I thought I'd just put you on the spot with
let's go.
So in the gang life, right? Particularly, I mean, you've had a whole life's experience of distorted masculinity, unfortunately. But particularly in the gang life as well, I'm sure like you said, there was heaps of distortion in all things. But what, like, the personal sort of distorted masculinity experiences that you had, they seem to be not, you know, those particular experiences, but the principle around them seem to be more of a societal issue now. Is like, men, it's either one extreme, which is like the feminist, masculinity is terrible, you know, don't be a man, whatever, that sort of thing. Or there's the other extreme, which is like, you know, like the Andrew Tate sort of side, which is being a man is, I mean, Father Shaba was talking about it in his talk, is like the money, the power,
respect.
Yeah, things like
promiscuity, that. Yeah.
Exactly. And so you have those sort of distortions, which are very much, at least from what I've seen, societal sort of issues now. So my question would be, what would you say true masculinity is, and how does it differ from the distorted masculinity in the sense of like self-worth and decision making and things like that?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Let's do this. Well, like the first thing, you know, even Father Shabel over the weekend brought it up. There was a book called Be a Man by Father Larry Richards, who I admire greatly for his boldness. And yeah, like, you know, masculinity to me is like, you got to know, you got to have an intention, you know, a why, and like a value system, and a vision of life that, you know, for others outside of ourselves. So yeah, in the framework of, say, being a father and a husband in my vocation of marriage, you know, being a man would be, it's that thing of like knowing firstly before, it's like the airplane analogy of like, you know, when the masks come down, you put it on, you know, the kids first. You know, you think usually you protect the children, but you got to put it on yourself first, so you have enough capacity to be able to protect the child or the people around you. So, you know, the role of being a masculine person is you got to have self mastery, not in the sense of like the world secular way, but there's that like we were talking about it before, that self love, but you got to know who you are, you know, like that quest to know your identity, to become a better version of yourself first, so that but that has to be in line with, you know, God's commission is to go make disciples, to tend to other people, to protect them. So yeah, masculinity, I think definitely, you know, checking your ego and pride, you know, using your physicality to serve, like, so, you know, work out not for the sake of vanity, but for me, for example, it's for energy. So the more energy that we have, I believe, the more effective servants of God we can be, or effective husband I can be. Because when I'm grumpy, I'm a terrible person. But yeah, in terms of masculinity, back to that point, it's like, become a better version of yourself so that you can help others become a better version of themselves. And I think, yeah, with that clarity of mind and body and spirit, that nothing that needs to be established first, and had to have a clear vision of who you are and where you want to go. You know what I mean? I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then just the, I guess that I asked you. Yeah, sorry, I asked you a whole bunch of questions really in one. I'm so sorry. But how would that differ then in terms of like? I mean, maybe I'll ask you this more personally. Actually, is where, if you don't mind me asking, where, how is your idea of self-worth now different? Like striving for true masculinity. Can't even word it properly. How is it different now than before when you were, like in the gang life, for example? Yeah.
Look, it's the identity has shifted. So, before I mentioned, the identity of I'm a liar, I'm not good enough, I'm a coward. I've changed that through my behavior and also belief, and through God's vision for us is to be his, like we're all, Romans chapter 8 verse 15, we're all adopted sons and daughters of God. And I have, like, I call it a weird adoption story, like my whole childhood thing. And I was like, all right, well, my identity, like with that verse, Romans chapter 8 verse 15, I felt, where we cry Abba Father, that's the difference. Like you're like, Abba is like this beautiful loving way to say daddy, for a kid to say. So I felt my identity is a child of God. So from that identity, then how does that someone with that identity behave? And then the outcome is, enduring happiness, I guess. So, how's my identity changed? It's through adopting, knowing that I'm an adopted child of God. Also the verse, the Gospel of Luke, I think it's where the 99 sheep and that, the shepherd going after that one, that really hit with me as well. How, and so all of the Holy Scripture started to come together in my heart, and then started to kind of rewrite my script, because I guess I was running off this script that you're not good enough, but God says you are worthy. My son died on the cross to prove, that worthiness, and he took all our sins. I think Dr. Scott Hahn says, like, Christ, he paid he owed a debt. He paid for a debt he didn't owe, because we owed a debt we couldn't pay. I remember coming across that quote, and I was like, wow, that's how much he loves us, and he loves me. So my identity started to rewrite to I am good enough. Yeah, I'm worthy. Staying humble, of course, because I've been a show off for most of my life, but still he's called us to share the good news, and to be a joyful Catholic. That's what he says. Like, I think the devil's best weapon is a grumpy Catholic or something, or Christian. So it's like there's a lot of joy in the gospel. So let's live that way, and so my identity's definitely changed through many, many years of reconditioning my mindset, and so my prayer is to God, like even in this context, is like, I pray that not let my limiting beliefs get in the way of his will,
Wow.
Yeah. Just thy will be done,
That's beautiful. Thank you for that.
No worries.
Now this is, I suppose, more of a reflective question on the church, I guess. But I've heard, like, I've had another person on, Georgie Mark, on the podcast, who spoke about his conversion story as well, and he was very much involved in the gang life as well, and crime and things like that. And he mentioned joining as well, and I think it tends to be the case for a lot of people, that they join these gangs for that sense of belonging and family and brotherhood or fraternity that they find. And it seems like, even though it's a distorted version of it, it seems like gangs really do it well, you know?
Yep.
And so my question would be, now there's the obvious one of, you know, the home and the family life and how we can make that more of an affirming and loving place so that, you know, our children don't go looking for it, you know, in the wrong places. But I want to maybe reflect on, instead of the home, on church communities. So how do you think church communities can almost emulate, but in a rightly ordered way, the that sense of belonging and family that the gangs, you know, offer so well? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It's got me thinking. I mean, I am now involved in like ministry. So I mentioned earlier on, like, well, I think off the air, about the Alpha experience, which is a great model because it's like, well, I think the Catholic Church, in general, I'm not pointing out anyone, but could do hospitality and welcome better. Just think, you know, just there's a lot of people that I guess they may be contemplating coming back, and you know, usually most churches I've experienced, like not all, when you come in, there's no one really there to kind of greet you, and so you kind of sheepishly go in, and there's no really engagement and connection. So yeah, hospitality and welcome, but I'm thinking of the parallel with the gang thing. Yeah, it's got to be attractive. It's got to be something to kind of draw them in, I guess. But I guess hospitality and welcome, someone, you know, Hillsong do it really well in terms of that, like hospitality that you go in and then, you know, someone's there to greet you and write your name down and welcome you and stuff. But don't have to go that far, I guess. But definitely, you know, the person, like I said, like before earlier, it's safety, you know, like in a distorted way, I felt safer in the gang than I did at home. But yeah, it's like, well, people are walking in, do I feel safe in this church community? Or am I going to be judged? Or, you know, so there's got to be that kind of awareness, I think, in terms of church community, especially new people kind of like that are kind of maybe agnostic, and then they're seeking and they come to a church thinking, oh, I'm going to be belong here. But yeah, for me, like, yeah, just that one encounter at the parish I'm at now, St. Kevin's, with a lovely Lebanese woman. She didn't go overboard, but we kind of sheepishly walked in, and she was just like, oh, she could tell we were lost. And she kindly just came up and said, oh no, like, because we're, you know, she said, oh, you can sit here, and, you know, because this is where the confessional is, you know, just kind of like doing a little tour. And just that little nugget, I was like, oh, I feel safe. I don't think I was aware that I said, oh, I feel safe now. Like, I'm not going to punch on with her. No, but like, you know, just like, oh, okay, this is nice, you know. Where I think it's important to note too, I actually went to, I'm not going to name the church, but I went to a church when we moved into this, our area now, the Dundas area, from Cogra to there. Then I went to the nearest church, and then was like, I went in, and then like during the mass, I was with my wife, and I don't know, like I heard the gospel, the homily, and I felt, you know, we're pretty green when it came to, you know, church and catechesis and whatnot. But then I put my arm around my wife, like just thinking, oh, I love her. And then at the back, I could hear this, oh my goodness, like, that's disgusting. And I was just like, oh. But then I was thinking, was that for us? And then I turned around, and then, yeah, there's this lady, to say, with a veil on, looking all pious, and just disgusted about me putting my arm around my wife during the mass. And I genuinely thought, oh, we've done something wrong. Like it's my fault.
Yeah.
So we got out of there. You know, like I felt really judged. Yeah. And again, like this is a reason why I bring it up. It's like for those who experience, you know, negative things in the church, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, I may be going off a bit, but I'm passionate about a Eucharistic love for Christ, because I think if if enough men and women had a true Eucharistic love for Christ, I think this is relative because it's St. Carlo Acutis' feast day. I think it was yesterday. But his love for the Eucharist, and, his amazing ministry online with the Eucharistic miracles, But I think, if we did, then these things wouldn't matter. The homily, if you don't understand it, there's a lot of things we can complain about as Catholics in the community. So many things. The singer, like what's going on with his voice, why is there instant coffee after the mass and not like barista made, I just, but it's just like there's so many things we can point out as Catholics. Yeah. But like if we had worked on having a Eucharistic love, then Christ is in every tabernacle, and I think that would transform the church. We'd be less complaining. But anyway, that going back to that incident, we left and went, oh my gosh. And that's why we went, we're going to go to another parish. Yeah. That's when we were welcomed by that lovely Lebanese lady. And that was it. We didn't leave. But then after I built some catechesis and doing some more learning, and then eventually had a Eucharistic love for Christ, because I didn't at the time. I developed that by the grace of God through learning and encounter and openness and prayer. I go back to that other church now, and I love it. But it was just that one person.
Yeah.
So that for the audience, like, don't, even if you go to a confession and you may not get the response you want, you can always go to another priest as well, but the sacrament rings true. Jesus' love for you and mercy for you is always true. So don't leave because of one person,
Yeah. Yeah, that's also important. I have I'm gonna admit this. I don't know. Anyway,
confessions.
I'm just public confession. No.
He actually judged your tattoo when you walked in.
Yeah. Not at all. Yeah. I saw it on Saturday and I was thinking, now you know the story. I can't wait to ask about it. But then you told it anyway. So
yeah, there you go.
No, I was at mass yesterday and I was sitting at the back of the church. My goodness, this parish. I won't say the name because I don't want people to Anyway, you'll know when you hear the story. But it's packed. Thanks be to God. God bless the parish priest there. He's doing great work. Anyway, and so I sat at the back and I sat behind this. It was 2 rows of the same family, and it was pretty evident that they don't kind of place too much importance on the mass.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like they were at home, playing with the kids. And you get distracted with kids sometimes at mass. Like when I'm with my nephews and nieces and things at mass, it's easy to get distracted with them. But it was really like they were at home, playing with them and like reaching over to the other kid. And I was sitting there and I was like, how do I let these people know to just stop? Do I shake my head or whatever? I'm thinking that, and then I started going, oh, that's really bad because I used to be them. I used to be them.
There you go.
So so I was like, that's terrible that I was thinking that way. So I was like, okay, I should probably pray for them. If they during the sign of peace, I was like, okay, I'll make a note to really smile, Anyway, the point of that is just to say that it's so easy for us to if we've been practicing our faith for a little while, to feel like it's easy to forget that we were once the other people that we're seeing in church.
Yeah, powerful. Yeah.
And so we become really self-righteous in a way,
Sure.
and we're like, oh, these people, they just don't get it. But it's no, we were them before. So wow. There's no need to oh my goodness, that's disgusting. There's no need for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the reason for that question is because I agree. I think in terms of hospitality and things like that, we, the church as in us, and not in terms of teachings and things like that, because the church is the most inclusive, not in the modern sense, but it truly is the most inclusive organization. But we can do such a better job in being more hospitable and welcoming, to people just whether they're actively searching or not.
Mm.
I think we can do a better job. So that was an awesome answer. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Wow. I was like, how do I not kind of expose? I hope they're not listening to this podcast. But anyway,
But it sounded like you had a good act of contrition. Like you had an awareness, and then the peace be with you. And,
you know, thank God.
The full circle.
No head shakes.
Yeah.
In the mass.
Well, I just to add to your previous question in terms of the gang life and the community.
Yes.
Invitation, right? So this came up.
Yes.
This comes up now. So I was invited by that one friend to go into the gang. I don't think if I was invited, I wouldn't have. Oh, don't know if I wouldn't have, but it would have potentially not.
Yeah.
But there was because he invited me, showed me what that would look like. Oh, that looks good for me at where I'm at now. So now, in retrospect, whatever, it's different. Anyway, in the Catholic context and, entering a community, a bit shy, lovely Lebanese woman inviting us in. Then from there, again, a Lebanese man, he's like my jiddu in a way. Because the running joke is that, like, I reckon I honestly have Lebanese blood in me somewhere. My wife does and my kids, because obviously for us, because like all of our friends, my friends, best friends are like Lebanese, Maronite, or Italian. My wife as well, the women's network, they're all mostly Lebanese, Italian, and our kids as well. Like we didn't even program that way. Their best friends are Lebanese at school.
Wow.
So anyway, but I just big shout out to the Maronite community because of their boldness. I love, the fact that you're doing this, and, in the Asian culture, it's we're very like, shy and, just kind of keep it to yourself, like a more cultural, private, but you guys are just out there.
Yeah.
in general. And I love that,
Yeah.
so anyway, but sorry, I digress. But then, invitation. So I remember being in the pews, just kind of hiding in the back for a while. And then, I was invited to. I was just handed the collection stick, right? Yeah. I was like, oh no! Like, this lovely man, Lebanese man, handed it to me. I was like, okay, what do I do? I don't want to get it wrong. But then that just stepping out of my comfort zone, right? It's this whole getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, which another Lebanese friend, challenged me with. Get comfortable with the uncomfortable. Just stepping out into service. So from that invitation, I was serving. I'm seeing the model unfold now. Serving in that little way. And then in other ways, then I was invited into other groups like the men's choir. And then Father was just like, you're going to be senior server now. So, and then I think the parallel that I'm seeing now in the gang life is that, like, as you start to do more tasks in that world, you start to own that world a little bit more. I don't know. Wow. That's just come to mind just now. So I was like, so I guess in the Catholic, kingdom building perspective, it's like, well, the more if you step out of the comfort zone and start to serve, you start to embody the community more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Wow.
Invitation. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a parallel. That's great.
It's just a time check. It's 1:30.
Oh, yeah.
To let you know.
Okay.
I don't know how long
Thank you
need to
do
school pickup.
Oh, maybe like 2:15 would be the limit. Yeah.
The limit? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm aiming for 2.
Okay.
Because then if I aim at 2, we'll worst case finish 2:15.
Yeah, okay. And then after that red card.
Yeah. Just walk off.
Yeah, I'm just like, what happened to the nice tall Asian guy? What happened?
It's a magic trick.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Let me, because I've got a few things here. But I don't want to take up too much time. Okay. I'll ask this one. You spoke about, again, that lowest moment. You go to sleep, you wake up, and you have this question in your mind: what is the meaning of life? And you search for it and you search for it. If I was to ask you now that question, what is the meaning of life? What would your answer be?
No, my answer is resoundingly clear now. It's to know God, right? So I'll say it all out and then I'll unpack it. So it's to know him so that we can love him and then serve him in this world so we can be with him forever in the next. I mean, that's the meaning of life. And that I've stolen that meaning and I've adopted that. And that's in the catechism, the Baltimore Catechism of the church. And that's for teens and for kids, but I mean, it's for all of us, I think it was written for teens or something because it's simple, but I think that to become a saint, to not look at a saint, like to look at saints that not like, oh my gosh, they'll do their saint thing and I'll just stand here and observe and be in awe. I think it should be the goal of every Catholic, every Christian to become a saint. So now to unpack to know, love, serve, right? So to know, we've got to make the effort. We're talking about acedia on the weekend. Is that how you say it?
Acedia, yeah.
Acedia?
That was the first time I'd heard the word.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's about
yeah.
basically not being a lazy bum.
Yeah, sloth. Yeah, it's like
sloth,
a form. I think
and Father Chabelle said it so well. Like and his vulnerability was awesome because it's like just that wake up in the morning. Go, I could just press the snooze. It's so easy, To study, to read the gospel every day. But I'm too busy, But to know God, we have to study him. We have to be continuous learners. And he offers this beautiful love letter, aka the Bible, which is a collection of love letters, I believe anyway. And it's like, to know him, we need to study him, read the gospels, get to know Jesus, continuous learn there, make the effort, make it a habit. And then we can love him. Because if we don't know, it's like, how can we love someone if we don't even know them? Are we just ticking the boxes just because our parents told us to? And that's a challenge I have for young adults that have been raised in good Catholic families, but maybe they know all about the Catholic Church teaching, but they may not have a personal relationship. And I think that's the key. If we had a personal relationship with Christ, then got a good chance of becoming a saint and helping others do the same. So knowing, loving, through devotion, through our talents and gifts, and then we can serve, and then have the courage to serve. Be invited to step out, like I was saying, out of our comfort zone, because we're not gonna grow in our comfort zone. So, but that invitation from someone can pull us out, and as I say, my beautiful Lebanese brothers and sisters have done that for me, pull me out of my comfort zone, and here I am, by God's grace as an instrument in this context, and being asked to be a speaker more and more. So I'm at that stage now of serving, but still got to keep learning and loving, through quality time and adoration. That's the love part, and just shutting up and asking God, what do you think I should do? And then I love the next part because it's this world. Studying, in uni or, trying to, build a business is all good things. But like Father Larry Richards says, we're all going to die. It's a 1-to-1 ratio. Yeah. Whether or not you and I can't tell you that I'm not going to die tomorrow. I don't want to, but only, no one knows the truth of that. And, so I think I look at that in a very respectful and a serious way, in terms of if we know we're gonna die, then shouldn't we try to shouldn't we try should if we know we're gonna die, then the whole what is the meaning of life? Why not, especially for young people, why not try to discover that as soon as possible, so you can live a longer life with joy and help others. Not just about a personal relationship. Yes, that's important, but to actually help others to find the same sooner rather than later. And then so love and serve God in this world, so we can be with Him forever in the next. And that's the that's the joy. Like Christ died so we can have eternal life with him. Yeah, and we can't put God in a box. I think a lot of people I know, they try to do that. They try to, where's the scientific evidence and how do we, but we can't. But I think we need to, or we should either. Yeah.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen.
I'm going to test you on that. I'm going to say, well, what's the meaning of life?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to remember that next time.
I've got it. Don't worry. It's in here.
Yes.
Throughout this whole journey, so just before we get to where you're at now in life, throughout this journey to the faith, is this something you're going through yourself and your now wife, or are you trying to share this like with your family? Because I know, like, I met Chris, your brother.
Yes.
I met him at the men's conference, the Be Not Afraid conference, and we had a chat. He is awesome.
Yes,
what a guy, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know your whole family, but you and Chris, awesome, man. Like, amazing. No. God bless you guys. And
he's on fire.
Honestly, and firstly, when Chris told me his age as well, I don't know if he'd want me to reveal it, so I won't. But when he told me his age, I freaked out as well. You all just look so young. Yeah, it's wild stuff. But I mean, is that something? Because Chris is also on fire.
Yeah.
For the faith, and it's inspiring to see.
Yes.
Is that something that you were trying to share with your family as well, like with Chris and?
Yeah.
Do you have other brothers?
So
right?
we've got another brother on my mum's side. So we've got Chris, so same mother, different father.
Okay.
And then we have another brother, younger brother, who's same mum, different father. And then on my Greek side, I've got two other brothers as well, same dad, different mother for both the other brothers. So we're like biologically half brothers on the philo side, but non-biological, but still my brothers on the Greek Condoleon side.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So yes. And so the answer to the question, so Chris and I actually, I mean, this is for him. Like, maybe one day he'll be here because
I already told him that.
Like he. So I won't divulge too much. But in terms of evangelizing within our family, yes, for sure. Like with Chris and I, we did start the journey together. We were on fire together, and then kind of went our separate ways on that. But he was on a journey. I'm 10 years his senior, so like he's like my little baby. I call him that. Like, when he came into the world, he was my saving grace for sure. In that whole context of the childhood stuff, he was a little baby that I could love and not feel judged by, and I love him very dearly. And I'm so grateful he's come. He's on fire for the Lord, and he's very well formed, like much smarter than me for sure. But he does his due diligence. He takes it seriously. Anyway, so he's like, this is kind of like like a genesis again of us together in our faith as husbands and wives in this stage of life. And I feel there's good things to come from that by the grace of God. That's just beginning or reigniting. But within my own family, there's still other members that we pray for dearly. Never give up on that, because I wasn't giving up on me, and God's timing is perfect. But there's also that, Lord, help me be an instrument over the phone in my words, try to be not to let my ego and my, because it's family, get G'd up.
Yeah.
Like, because you love them so much. The fire is like, what the heck, and that's just like, bonk, people around me when I first came to Christ, they're just thinking, look at this, they're making fun of me, Father Jesus guy, because I'm not, it's just the beginning, it's just the first one or 2 years. They see my hypocrisy. Yeah. So I don't know, like in terms of evangelizing within or sharing the good news with your family, and if it's not landing, it's just, I don't know if you asked this question, but it's kind of coming up. It's like, live the authentically, live with joy, if it's authentic, the joy, and because that's attractive, because we're the billboard campaigns for Christ, someone, if you go, hey, come to church with me, and then that friend's like, if I'm going to become more like you, no, thanks, I'll skip that. I'm busy on Sunday.
Fair. That's a great point.
But I guess the best way, even now in our men's group ministry and young adult ministries and stuff, is friendship. Just become a friend, genuine friend. Like the Maronite Run Club, love that. Their little the run club.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like do a St. Kevin's like run club. Here and there. We do it here and there, or bike ride around Meadowbank. So that that fellowship is just like riding together, that fraternity, sharing testimony a little bit here and there, and inviting them to events. But yeah, like I don't know if that does that answer.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of the question.
For sure, yeah. Definitely. So now you're married with 2 kids?
Yeah, 2 boys.
Yeah, 2 boys.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How
12 and 9. Yeah, they're in primary.
Wow.
Yeah, greatest blessings.
Oh, beautiful.
Source of joy. Insane.
I love it.
I love them, and they're praying for me right now. Like they're gone back to school, and my eldest is just like, okay, Dad, when are you on this podcast? I go, yeah, but it's probably between 11 and 2. And then he said, we'll be praying the Angelus for you. Like we're gonna offer up the Angelus that they pray at school.
Oh my gosh, how cute!
Oh, bro, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're raising little mini-me's, isn't that cool?
Little like better me's. Yeah.
Better me's.
Yeah.
I love
Hashtag
that.
better me. Yeah.
I love
Sounds
that.
like a Medibank commercial. Better me. Yeah. But yeah, like
Be good in marketing. Yeah.
But yeah, blessed, man. Blessed. Beautiful wife, prayerful wife. I was reflecting anyway, and the boys are just little warriors. Yeah, little warriors.
Awesome. So what does family life look like in terms of nurturing the faith at home? What do you do to keep the faith alive in your house?
Yeah, so I talk a lot. I preach a lot. No, so faith alive is it's basic stuff, but hard, like to be a better listener, to really be present. Like one example that comes to mind is with the smartphones, with the doom scrolling and the infinite scroll. We try, but we fail. But we have implemented in the past, and we'll again. It's like from 6 p.m. to bedtime. Put our phones in a box, for example. Put our phones in like all the kitchen drawer, so away from us, in terms of my wife and I, because we're trying to delay. We'll give our kids like dumb phones, they call them.
Yeah.
But I feel like the smartphones are actually the dumb phones. The smartphones are actually making us dumber because they're doing everything for us. But the dumb phones, if you don't know, it's just like more simplified. You don't have access to all the apps, social media for sure. No. Yeah. So I'm grateful because of this age of awareness now. There's a shift. And it's just before, my eldest is getting into high school, so able to he understands the potential dangers of the scroll and social media. That's coming out to light now more and more. But if you were a few years, it'd be hard for the families that are already kind of there's no kind of understanding of the implications of social media and stuff, and the addiction around that. But anyway. So these little things, like, so in terms of that, less distraction means more opportunity for God, more opportunity for collecting memories as a family. Like all the stuff that I went through, I've seen that model, and I'm going, that doesn't work. Not all of it, but most of it. In terms of, so I, by the grace of God, God has gifted me with this opportunity to have this awareness and His wisdom as a father to be the man of the house, that respects his wife, that will die for them. I think that's masculinity, willing to die for your wife. Like this is a thing we need to remember as men, as husbands. It's like, this is important. That's why, looking at that, that website, or, we're objectifying, you could stay away from that, because like this, she's our chisel. She's going to chisel us into saints. One chore at a time. But yeah, like, I had this reflection after Saturday too. It's like, you know, I do go about sometimes business as usual. Like I'll see my boys, they'll come in. Oh, Habibi. It's like, I hug them. You know, I call them Habiba, like Habibi, you know, because I just find it so beautiful. The Lebanese, like one of my friends, he's called his daughter Habiba. And I was just like, damn, that sounds so like beautiful.
So cute,
It's
yeah.
poetic.
Yeah, it's
It's
so
poetic.
cute. So
The
now I
language
say it, and then it's just normal.
Yeah.
But I just feel
love
like it's a
that.
beautiful expression of like Habibi.
It is.
You know, I hope it doesn't offend anyone, but it's
Not at all.
genuine.
Not
You
at
know,
all.
genuinely like. Anyway, I see the boys, and I'm like Habibi, and then I see my wife, and it's like, yeah, she's like, you know, it's of course I love her, right? Yeah, but I don't like.
I love the woman.
I love the woman. Yeah, like of course, yeah, not Habibi, not Habiba, not level. But I was thinking, you know, it challenged me. It's like, you know, Father Chabel again in his talk over the weekend about, you know, we give the challenge of like 90%, like at the gym, I'm giving all the boys at the gym the best version of me, the most energetic version of me, my colleagues, my friends, clients or whatever. I come home. Before walking into the door, and I'm just the grumpiest guy, you know, because I'm tired by then. You know, excuses, and my wife's just like, you gotta do this. Why don't you pick up that? You know, and you know, understandably, right? There's stuff to do, and I'm thinking, what about me? You know, like I just went out and conquered the world, and then it's like, well, it made me realize over the weekend, it's like, don't take it personal. Like, you know, does she love me? Yes. You know, but is there stuff to do? Yes. And then I think once all that's done, I know she shows love and affection, but in a different way. You know, so not, you know, for boys usually, I don't know if you heard the book 5 Love Languages, where there's that whole thing of, you know, people express love, physical touch, you know, words of affirmation, quality time, gift giving, or acts of service. So I think when you know, that changes over time, but for mums in generally speaking, I don't want to be killed by all the mums out there, but like quality time, acts of service would be higher on the list once the kids involved, and you know, quality time on holidays and stuff more higher than physical touch. Like I think for most guys, generally speaking, like hugs and, you know, it's that kind of maternal thing we do feel the love that way, or words, generally speaking. See how safe I am, generally speaking.
Yeah.
That's my safety. Generally speaking.
Smart man.
Yeah.
The internet's a wild place.
Yeah.
It's good.
But yeah, that so yeah, in terms of that home life, how to incorporate, and also the habit of prayer. So at night we always have the wind down time is like, you know, we read a book or play Uno, whatever, and then when we have time, but then definitely has to be prayer. So prayer is sometimes a Hallow app. So Hallow is a Catholic meditation app, which is fantastic. And then they've got like this 5-minute, 10-minute reflection, like Lectio Divina, where you can just be still. So I feel like, teaching my boys and myself and my wife, like for us to just sit still for 5 minutes in the day, because we're always moving and vibrating and there's always stuff to do.
Yeah.
I think that's the gift that I'm trying to work on most now, is like myself as well, just to be still and know that, you know, he's God, you know, that's scriptural. So, and I think it's in the stillness. So if I could teach them that, that's what I'm working on right now. The anchor of prayer before going to bed, and praying for others in the intentions before going to bed, and like snuggling with them, I love you, and you know, all of that stuff that we take for granted. And even just going like, this is what we're doing. What's your highlight? What's your low light? And what's your learning for the day? Nice. Yeah. So it's like, you know, then they can. It's like a little Ignatian in a way, examine, but just more of a, you know, so you reflect on what was good of the day, what was not so good maybe. So there's an opportunity for them to go, this actually happened, you know. And I think there can be some healing there from potentially traumatic, you know what I mean?
For sure.
And what was your learning? Like, where did you fail, you know? And what did you learn from that?
It's awesome. Like a daily examine. Like
examine, man.
Yeah, from such a young age. What a practice.
Yeah.
That's so good. You know, like, it's such a hard thing for us, I think, because I guess we didn't have that practice when we were younger. But that stillness is so good. Like if they're practicing that now, at this young age. That is such a head start for them. It's incredible. And I love the passage. It's in the Gospels somewhere, and it says something like, it's about Saint John the Baptist, and it says, in the reign of this person of this place, and the reign of this person of this place, and the reign of this person, and it's like king whatever of somewhere, and it goes like through a list of all of these kings, and then it says, during the reign of all of these kings, the word of God came to John in the wilderness.
Oof.
And then and like we reflected on that. Father Ronnie, God bless him. It was at St. Felix at the time when we had Bible studies and things like that, and he had pointed out to me that was speaking to the stillness and the silence of the wilderness, that among all of these great men that's listed in this gospel, the word of God didn't come to them in all their royalty and their power and their greatness and all of that. It came to John in the silence and the stillness of the wilderness. And like, it's such a head start. Like, that's maybe as kids, they won't fully appreciate what's happening, though I'm sure you make it aware, like you make them as aware as they can be.
as they can be, yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm sure when they grow older, that's something that even people who don't practice the faith, like they long for just stillness and silence in their lives. And so what a practice. I love that. That's amazing.
And it is. And I find it can be so hard for people as well, just to sit still.
Yes.
And that's why adoration is a powerful way to practice that. But yeah, even like I said, like it's these little hacks, like try to incorporate these small habits. I could go, boys, we're going to sit for half an hour. Yeah. I'll be, oh my gosh, like, like half an hour, So I was just like, well, maybe, 10 minutes, and that's okay. Yeah. And then just breathing, and just trying to be still. Like one of my sons, they keep fidgeting, just, like during the time, but then, now he's less fidgety, just more, in the moment. And there's an opportunity, like you say, in the wilderness to, where did Jesus go when things was getting hectic? He'll go out on his own, and to hear the voice of God. That's I feel like the only true way we can really, hear the voice of God and get directed. But the distractions and the busyness is alluring. Yeah.
Okay, we're nearing 2:00.
All right.
So I had a whole list of questions here, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to ask the one that I'm most curious about.
Okay.
Because we don't have time to ask all the rest. So sorry to anyone who misses out on the other questions I had. But I'm going to be selfish here and ask this really random question that I just thought, like, I find, like, I think people regular listeners of the podcast would know that I have what they might describe as a weird sense of humor. I just laugh at anything and everything. I love it. Laughter's just great.
Yeah.
But I think humor is really like almost like a medicine for so many issues, 100%. Right? But what I wanted to ask was, were there any moments of like almost humor that kind of helped you heal in your journey, like in some wounds? Like
humor, like I mean, I value humor a lot.
Well, you were known as the funny guy.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Like this is interesting. It's funny that you bring it up because I'm trying to rediscover my funny, because the funny identity then, it was pretty like rude, like I was like it was brash, it was not reverent, at all. So, but I'm still trying to find my funny hashtag, find my funny. But
I'd say you're funny.
I guess this is happening. It's evolving. I got to hang out with you more. Yeah. We just see a dog cross the road. We just laugh there together. Yeah, with our like
sounds good to me.
Calippo ice cream.
Yes,
oh my gosh,
yum.
Yeah.
Yum. Anyway, yes.
No,
that's fair.
I don't know why this is you're talking about random. This is a random thought. Like I used to sit in Hyde Park, so near where the fountain is.
Yeah.
and just sit there and then just create like dialogue between just random people that walk past, you know, just
You like pretend like you know what
pretending
they're
that, yeah,
talking.
exactly.
I love doing
Yeah, we
that.
should do that
Isn't
one
that
time.
yes?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Just bring the microphones there.
it really
Okay.
helped. Yeah,
We should do a short out of that.
And we'll
Yeah,
do
yeah,
That's
just
it.
sitting there.
100%.
Yeah, anyway.
That's awesome.
But-
I love that.
Humor to heal, yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, it is such a great medicine. And I laugh a lot for sure. My kids are hilarious. Like, and yeah, my wife, she doesn't realize it, but she's hilarious too. But she cracks me up. But yeah, like I get my joy from them. And yeah, I stand on the shoulders of some really funny men in our parish. And like I love just listening. I don't think I'm the funny guy. I'm definitely not the funny guy. But yeah, I'm healed by other funny people around me, like yourself and the guys from my parish. They crack me up. But I never really kind of identified it as a healing, but it definitely is healing. But I can't pinpoint one specific memory in terms of where it healed in a certain way. I think it was more serious stuff, like, you know, but joyful, but yeah, but the humor part, still trying to find my funny.
Cool. I appreciate that. Appreciate the honesty. I'll bring up, sorry if anyone's listened to this before, and I'm not making this like an emotional part of the podcast at all. Please, I don't know. Anyway, but in the episode that Sarah was kind of the host and I turned guest.
Yes.
And I was talking about my dad's passing. There was like this moment. I was mentioning this moment where you know, it was like it's all sad and everything. Like I love my dad and I miss him and everything. But there was this moment when my brother went to, you know, in the movies, like, so my dad, when he breathed his last breath, his eyes were open and like rolled back, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, in the movies when when someone passes away and they like shut their eyes and it's this really beautiful, peaceful thing.
Yeah.
So my brother did that. And and I remember seeing like, so he closed his eyes and then he let go and my dad's eyes popped back up.
I'm just like, don't tell me it just went back up.
It was like, it was just rebounding, you know, it was almost like a little jiggle in his eye. It's really weird. But like things
I get
like
it now, the weird funny.
Yeah.
Now I was like, no, you're good, you're normal. No.
No, I'm really not. Yeah. No, but like just little moments like that. That's the reason I asked that question, is because I like, you know, it's not a healing moment in itself, but it helps in those moments. Like it's just a little lighthearted, like funny moment that really helps with the healing.
Yes.
Anyway, so I think I'm just justifying my question really, so people don't think I'm that weird.
But I know, but now you've gifted me with a higher sense of awareness to, you know, try to, not actively like try to find it, but if it naturally comes, just to have a giggle about it, you know, in the right context.
Yeah, that's right. Right. I didn't laugh in the moment.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just looking back, you know, I'm like, oh, that was funny. Anyway,
cool.
I feel like I'm just trying to justify myself now. All right, moving on.
Yes.
Final question of the podcast that I ask every guest that comes on.
Okay.
Do you know the idea of death row last meals?
No? Death row last meals.
Yeah,
no.
last meals. Like when you're on death row.
Oh, death row. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's so grim.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. That's what I do at the end of every podcast. We have a laugh and then I just make it.
Yeah.
Really dull.
Yeah.
So, in different countries, different states and things, there are different rules around the death row last meal. So Sarah laughs at me for always saying the same. It's like a script that I have.
Yeah.
But here on Against the Grain, we have no rules.
Okay.
So death row last meal, you're on death row.
Okay.
What would you choose your last meal to be? You can get how much of whatever you want, cooked by anyone or from anywhere, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, first thing, I've got to be honest with my first thought. It's a teriyaki chicken with salmon sashimi. Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. Like, that'd be it. Happy days.
Wow.
And a miso soup on the side, just to break the texture.
Nice. Is that it? That's any dessert, drinks?
Oh, dessert? Are we going there?
You can get anything you want.
go.
You can get wings, chips on the side. I don't know if you want that. I like.
No. So that abundance of those,
Nice.
and then definitely. This is very Lebanese of me. Acai, acai with
Fair.
like, what is it? The Biscoff topping. Yeah, and all of that.
Sarah's loving this.
Acai,
Yeah. Nice.
Oh man, I think, and then like like mochi, which is a very like
Yum.
yeah, you know mochi. These
Yes.
mochi donuts.
Yum.
Yeah.
So
Do you know
good.
what they are? The mochi donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mochi
So it's got
donuts.
the donut dough with the
Yum.
mochi texture.
So it's like bouncy.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yum.
Yeah. And welcome to our paid sponsor, Mochi Donuts.
Great way to segue.
Yeah. Relatives. No, they're not. They're not. Not at all. But yeah, you got me excited now. I'm so
I
hungry.
love that. Yeah. Me too. This is what I do. So then
Yeah.
you go and crave these things and go.
I guess the kids are gonna like score a good meal on the way home. Too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. You were you good at school today? All right, let's go.
Thank Uncle.
I'll reward you with
Yeah.
Nice. Any drinks for your?
Oh, drinks. Yeah. Oh, well, avocado shake for sure at my best mate's restaurant for sure. Yeah, Vietnamese
Interesting.
restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Avocado shake.
What restaurant?
Never heard of that.
Aloe Barn in Stratfield.
What's it called?
Aloe Barn.
Aloe Barn.
Yeah. It's like hello friend in Vietnamese.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So shout out, brother.
Where?
Yeah,
Don't tell
Where
me.
in
Nice.
Stratfield?
So just outside of the plaza on what's that main
Oh, near
main
the
street?
station.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's
Near
the
the straight-
main. That's
yeah.
the main stripper. Like,
The main street.
Stratfield.
Yeah. The best
Yeah.
Vietnamese you get like anywhere.
wow.
But yeah, for drink wise, it'd be that.
Okay, we're gonna try.
And of course, one of his famous crispy chicken. Gosh, what are you doing? You're tapping me. I'm stuck in a glass cage of emotion here. Bro, what the heck? I'm being
Sorry,
trapped.
man. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to do that.
No, but seriously, yeah, like that's what I'd have. That'd be the drink. Yeah,
Awesome.
avocado shake.
Lovely. And then 1 hour fast, Eucharist, and then you're dead.
Oh, of course. Yeah, we got to keep it real.
Yeah. That's what it is here on the Get
Yeah.
Screen, at least.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much again for coming on. I'll get you to
Pleasure.
sign
Thank
the canvas
you.
if that's okay. I'll bring
Of
it over
course.
to you.
Yes,
So here is
this has been
the
awesome.
texter.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you so much. I'll bring the canvas,
No worries.
and then we'll officially finish up in good time for you to
Perfect.
do pickups.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Wherever you're comfortable with. I don't know how you
Yeah,
want to
I'll
hold
just hold that. Yeah, no worries. Is that okay?
it. Yeah, please. Let's see if it's neat writing or anything. Oh, it's neat writing.
Oh, I'm being judged.
You have nice writing. You're not being judged, just your writing. No, I'm kidding. I'm the messiest writer, so
There we go.
I just get really impressed by neat writing, to be honest. Is there anything we need to advertise?
No.
Oh, this is happening? No. I don't think so. Nope. If this is coming out next Wednesday. Anything happening in November? No. After Andrew is our 4th last episode, I believe, for the year.
No. Third last.
No, 4th.
Thank you.
Fourth.
So, yes. Yes, we have 3 more exciting podcasts. One is a tentative booking. Let's hope for any footy fans who listen, players are never here until they're here. So, no promises, but it's a tentative booking. So, get excited.
All right.
We have, thank you for signing, Andrew Condoleon. Who we become is more important than what we do or what we have. That's beautiful.
Yep.
Is that just your quote?
That is not mine, actually. So I took that off Matthew Kelly. So it's basically any time you're feeling like anxious or worried, so you say who we become, it kind of looks forward to, not the present, and is more important than what we do or what we have. So when I was talking about the financial like worries and other worries, it's like, what I'm doing right now doesn't define me, and what I have right now in terms of material wealth or whatever it is, doesn't define me. It's who we become, and that become a saint. So
Love
it's loaded with God will provide. Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, I surrender my life to you.
Wow. Amen.
Yeah.
Andrew, thank you so much again for coming on. This has been such a pleasure. Thank you for being so vulnerable and open about your life and your journey to where you're at now, and your you're such an inspiration already, and I know you'll continue to be. And I don't know if anyone's listening who might want to get you to speak or something like that. Are you open to doing that?
Sure. Yeah. Definitely.
How is it? How best
Well,
to contact?
on
how best to
Instagram, I've got like at ignite.catholic. You can like direct message me there.
Awesome.
Follow and we can connect that way.
Easy.
Yeah, that'd be the way, the best way.
Beautiful. Done.
All right.
Easy. Thank you so much. Well, to finish off, as always, we remind everyone at home or in your cars or wherever you're listening to this podcast that our life is not our own. We belong to Jesus Christ. So don't be afraid, like the koi fish, to go against the grain.
Yes.
God bless.
God bless. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you so much, man. That was awesome.